All right, welcome Swim World to episode 12. That's crazy to say, Justin. We have the man, the myth, the legend, the king, the men of all men, Elvis Burrows in the house. How's it going?
What an intro.
I was ready, dude. I've been like thinking, how am I going to start this off? And I wanted to come out full gas.
So what's funny is I've been calling Avery Swedish boy for like the past 8 weeks. Meanwhile, he lives in Switzerland. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wrong country.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, there's a lot of my family that also believed we were in Sweden. So it's okay.
Which one would be better?
Oh, man, they're very different countries. I mean, like, it would be almost like comparing, let's say, like Miami, Florida to Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, yikes.
So you know what I mean. Like in terms of the lifestyle and stuff, there's some similarities there, but like culture wise, yeah, it's pretty vast actually.
Yeah, I need to come to Switzerland and check on my bank accounts. It's been a while.
Yeah, you're working with UBS. They like the international folks.
I've said too much already.
We're already out of the gate. 1 minute 20 seconds, and we're already in hot water.
Let's do it.
So, all right, here we go. All right, man. I don't even know where to start. I'm excited for this one. So let's do this. We've been kind of talking with a lot of different international swimmers. So let's just kind of talk about your background because, and reading some of the crazy comments that you guys get, I don't think many people just now tuning in to Elvis Burrows and the Night Swim podcast, they don't realize like you've got a really awesome background from, coming into the US and then swimming in the Olympics. So why don't you take us back to how you started swimming, how you ended up stateside, swimming at Lakeside, and then, and I guess inevitably ending up at Kentucky.
Yeah, so born and raised in the Bahamas, small, well, small populated island called Grand Bahama in the city of Freeport, which is like the most northern island, probably most famous recently for the Hurricane Dorian.
Hmm.
Pretty much decimated like 80% of the island, but recovery efforts have been great. We immigrated to the U.S. I want to say maybe in 2001. I was maybe 12 at the time, but yeah, our whole family came over, and my dad went. He was studying for his PhD, so he was asking some of the students like, "Hey, like my son, me and my brother, actually both of us, he's like, my sons swim. Looking for a pool for them to train at our team. Anyone knows?" And everyone kept telling him, "Yeah, Lakeside, Lakeside, Lakeside." And he was getting his PhD at the seminary, which was right around the corner from where we trained, which was Mary T. Maher Aquatic Center. So they're like, "Oh yeah, like right down the road, there's the Mary T. Lakeside trains there in the winter." So he kept hearing this Lakeside team, and one day he just drove by and walked on deck. And his story is that he said, "I walked on deck and I talked to the first big white dude I saw."
Mike DeBoer.
And it was Mike DeBoer, Coach Mike. And he said, "Hey, I got two sons who swim. Like, you got what's up?" And Mike was like, "Bring him in. We'll try him out."
Yeah, that sounds like Mike. Let's turn my
Yeah.
Wi-Fi off.
So
And just so everyone knows, we're talking about Kentucky, so Louisville, Kentucky.
yeah, Louisville, Kentucky, which is like the opposite of the Bahamas for moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we moved in like January. So that was the first time I saw snow on the ground.
Oh,
First
wow.
time I experienced cold. I was like, I don't like this at all. So yeah, so Mike brought us on, and you know, I was I was in the same class with Clark Burkle. We were on the same team
Yeah.
there. Caroline Burkle, his sister, was, I want to say, maybe a year or two older than us. Yeah, a lot of good talent came from there. So from there, I got recruited to a few schools, but University of Kentucky took the cake. At the time, University of Louisville was recruiting me pretty hard at the time as well. I mean, I was local, but they were at a point where Albiero had just kind of got on the team, and they were still, I say this respectfully, they're a joke at that time. So it was like, dude, you're really going to go to Louisville when like you have a chance to go to Kentucky? Like,
Hmm.
so I took that opportunity. And there was a Bahamian girl at Kentucky at the time who was the first female Bahamian Olympian who had trained under the sprint coach there, Sean Zatani. So I got on the phone with him, and he was like, "Hey, like, I can't offer you any money, but I've seen you swim. I know your potential. Like, you come on this team, and I will make you great. And he convinced me. So the rest is history.
Yeah. So let's talk about Lakeside because I'm going to start there. What was it like transitioning to swimming for Lakeside? Because as you and I know, like the quality is very very high. It's very actually similar to Justin's program. What was that transition like coming into the U.S., coming into Louisville, and swimming under Mike? Like, was that a pretty big jump for you, or do you remember kind of sliding right into things pretty easily?
Oh no, there was no sliding in for sure. Not at all. Well, the first change was facilities.
Yeah.
So there are no indoor pools in the Bahamas. So that was the first time I swam indoors and even experienced an indoor pool. I was like, this is interesting. But it makes sense because there's snow on the ground outside. So how would we swim outside? I remember walking into the facility and the air felt heavy. Like, it
Yeah.
was hard. It was like weird to breathe. So that was a big change, like just surviving, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like getting destroyed in practices, and I had just broken my arm, like downhill skating, just being a crazy 13-year-old, 12-year-old kid. So I moved to the US with a cast on my arm. And once it came off, I was like just getting my feel back for the water, and I was kind of weak. And being, I was young, scrawny, the only black kid on the team. Everyone probably thought like I didn't really know how to swim. And I kind of took advantage of that. So I slacked off for a while. Yeah. So I came in like, all right, let me just get my feel back for the water. Like, I'll just go through these practices. And I was like in the back of the lane, like just slacking, to be honest. I was just slacking. And the coaches were basically, they were kind of like patronizing me too, like, because they were feeding into it. They're like, oh, like, great job, like, next time you should do it this way, like encouraging me. Meanwhile, I'm like, this is the easiest shit ever, like, what are they talking about? So one day the coach was like, oh, we're going to do like just a time trial practice. So we're just going to get up and we're going to race each other for time, like a 50 of each stroke and then 100 IM, something like that. And of course, once I saw that, like, the racer in me just got awakened. I was like, oh yeah, this kid who was leading the lane like the whole time, teacher's pet. I was like, I'm going to whoop this kid. I'm going to surprise the hell out of this kid. And I remember they put him in like heat one, and they put me in like the last heat with like the slow girls. And I hopped off that block, and I was halfway back before they were flipping. They were like, what? Who is this kid? Like, where was this all along? Like, you could see I remember the coach, his name was Manuel. He's a Hispanic guy.
Yep.
His mouth was like open, and he was like eyes open, like shocked, but also like angry. Like, like, I've been bamboozled this whole, dude, I was going for at least I had these guys for like 2 months. Just,
Holy cow.
yeah. Then he was like, all right, you're in heat one. Like, no, I'm not, that's not happening. And I dusted everybody in this, like in every event, every stroke. Yeah. It took like a week there. Like, yeah, we're moving you like 2 groups up. You're not fooling anyone anymore. Yeah. And then, yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and
Poor
so then
guy.
you probably so you said you were 12 or 13, so you would have been in like age group elite, I think.
Yeah. They moved me right up to age group elite real quick.
Yeah, yeah, because so yeah, I was there. I coached there, I guess, 2.5 years before I went to Kentucky. I'm trying to remember the timeline. It had to be 2015, so I would have been there 2011 to 2014 ish,
Mm.
and I had the age group elite group at
Yeah.
that
So
time.
everyone was like, I think part of the reason I was slacking too is because everyone was kind of afraid to move into age group elite, because it was coached by this dude named Todd Larkin. And
Hmm.
man, shout out to me remembering that guy's name just now. But
St.
he,
X coach.
yeah,
He's
that's
still
right.
at St. X. Yep,
He is.
yep, he's still there.
Shout out to Coach Todd. Man, that dude was transformative. Like, we would hear him shouting across the pool deck at his swimmers, everyone was terrified of this guy. I was like, no, you go to that group is like, you either, it's like do or die. Like you either
Yeah,
make
for
it through
sure.
Todd or you're a nobody. So I remember when they told me, yeah, we're moving you to age group elite. I was like, no, like, fuck. Yeah. And then Todd like sat me down. And he's like, hey, like I've heard about you. I've seen you swim. I've seen your times. Like we're excited to have you and, really gonna blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh, he seems like a nice guy. First set, fucking go. I was like, yeah, Todd brought the man out of the boy. He was like, no joke. But yeah, Todd was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a legend in Louisville. I met him a few different times, but I've not spoken to him since I've left Kentucky, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, his name is still around. Like I said, he's still at St. X.
Wow. That's great to hear, man. Shout out
That's kind
Coach
of cool,
Todd.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what, 15 years. So that would have been, gosh, 20 years or so.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. So who was your coach after age group elite?
Then after age group elite was, I want to say it was the national team with Mike, where Mike coached.
Okay. So yeah, I think later on they added a group in between. So then you went directly to Mike D. So talk
What was
about
the
that.
group, what was the group in between?
So it used to, I think it was like senior, it was
That
like
one.
age group. Yeah, I think it was just like senior one, they called it.
Okay. So I definitely moved into that group. And it was a coach named Eric Whitlatch. He coached there. I want to say he was an assistant at Louisville for a while
Yes.
after
Yeah,
that.
he was.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I trained with Eric, and I actually had a really good relationship in high school because I was training with him around the time like recruiting started happening, and he swam at IU, I believe, so he was very close with some of the IU coaches, and he was like passing my name around to different coaches, like, hey, you guys should come see this kid. Like, yeah, he sucks at yardage practices, but he's really fast. Like that was kind of the selling point. So I trained with Eric Whitlatch, and then I want to say senior year is when I moved up to national and trained with Mike.
Okay. Do you have a pretty good like memory of what that senior year was like with Mike D?
Yeah, Mike D was more. I mean, of course, he was still loud. Well, Mike, I had trained with Mike before because he had like one of the younger groups,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then age group elite senior, and then he had the national group. So I had him earlier on when I first got there too. I liked, I really liked Mike because he just knew how to connect with kids, but it wasn't in a way that he was talking like, even though I was 12, like he spoke to me as if I was a pro athlete. Like that's how it felt. Like I wasn't like some child. It was like you're an athlete, you're developing, this is what you should do, here is the advice. Like he was very good at that. And I mean, there were a lot of people on the team who looked up to him as like a father figure. He just carried that presence. And he and I had stayed in contact after, well after we'd done a few initiatives together as recently as I want to say like between 2014 and 2016. So, damn, that's not recent at all, is it?
No, it's not, man. We're getting
Why does
old.
it feel like that was like 3 years ago?
I know.
Jesus. Yeah, but Mike really knew how to connect with athletes and create an environment of excellence. Like Clark Burkle swam very well under Mike. We had some really good talent on our team, but we also had like we were very known for shenanigans, man. Like we had a lot of mischievous kids on our team who were just super fast, but would get in trouble for like, you know, making loud sexual noises in the locker room because it would echo into the pool deck,
Yep.
like during the national anthem, like something stupid like that. Like, so it's always funny to see some of the guys who were national level swimmers, like what they're doing now, or yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, yeah, it does. No worries. I was just curious.
Mike
Yeah, I
was
mean,
the
I
shit,
think
but we were a bunch of fuck ups.
Yeah, it's the lakeside culture is almost like hard to chat about because it's one of those things. Unless you're there in the moment, like working with Mike D and kind of seeing how the whole system works, it's almost hard to even to describe it. I mean, and most I learned so many good things under Mike because I came from Wildcat Aquatic. I was Wildcat Aquatics at the time with like Ben Davis. I was a head coach of a small club in Richmond that had like 30 kids, and so that was like really stepping up to the big leagues and learning so much on the things of like you can have a high level program and not be a jerk as a coach. You can connect with kids on a foundational grounded level. And I would hear him talk to the 8, 9, 10 year olds every day, like, hey, how's your day going? Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about your race. And it was never anything that was like too far ahead of them. It was very age appropriate. And so once I started hearing those conversations, that really set me up for some long term success and moving on down the road, just having normal conversations, helping prepare them for what's to come, but it wasn't anything that was over their head. So it's kind of cool for you to remember or to echo that same experience I had.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said, Lakeside was very transformative for me, and I still spent my summers in the Bahamas. So I think I got to swim in the rock quarry. So Lakeside's got this big.
Yeah.
The reason it's called Lakeside is because they swim in like a lake, pretty much, and it's like built into this rock quarry. It's one of the probably the prettiest pool in America. If
Yeah. I'll
you
drop a
know,
picture.
yeah, those of you listening, just Google Lakeside, Louisville, Kentucky. But so I didn't really swim in the quarry that much because in the summers I was in the Bahamas and doing all those meets. But yeah, while I most of my time was in the indoor pool, Mary T, and I almost like equated to like probably what people felt like when they were training at altitude, like swimming in there with that
Sure.
heavy, thick air, that chlorine gas, and then you go to swim like on the island where there's like no pollution, fresh air. You're like, my lungs are 3 times the size. Like, who's going to stop me?
Yeah. I mean, I used to get 3 or 4 sinus infections per year because the air quality in there was so bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those places, Justin. It's like it's a place to swim, and there's a little side gym, and they pretty much run the whole facility. It's owned by the city, but for all intents and purposes, it's there for Lakeside. But yeah, man, the air quality was rough. I don't think any HVAC system was moving any type of air in that place ever. But I mean, Gold Medal Club. I mean, it got the job done.
dude. We used to. They had these windows that slid open like along. We used to open the windows like mid set and stand in them like in the winter because we used to get so overheated and like the air was so hard to breathe. We would just stand there, catch our breath, get cooled off for a little bit, and then come back down the bleachers from there, and then like hop back in. Like I remember we'd get to the part of the set and be like, all right, window time. Like,
It's so,
yeah,
and I'm laughing so much because it's just bringing back all the same exact memories because those bleachers are still there. Like those are the same ones from 2000s. Like, and so here, like you will never smell any chlorine in any pool. Like the air quality here is perfect. It's warm sometimes, but there's no smell of chemicals. And so we'll hear parents say like, oh, the air quality is so bad. I'm like, listen, in Mary T in Louisville, Kentucky, you guys don't even know.
you have no idea, no idea. But man,
So
I remember asking Mike. I was like, why doesn't Lakeside build your own indoor pool at this point? Like you have, like, why are we fighting for lane space? You have the numbers, whatever. He's like this place would go bankrupt, you know.
yeah.
So he almost like they almost stay there out of what's the word? Just like civic duty almost.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Like kind of giving back to the city in some
Yep.
respect, like renting the lane. They basically rent the whole pool out for the whole winter, and that
Yep.
allows them to survive during the summer. You ever been
Yep.
there in the summer? It's like a ghost town.
Yeah. No one, literally no one.
Yeah. So, I mean, respect, to Mike for and
Yep.
Lakeside for doing something like that. But man, I say it's a tough environment, but maybe that was part of the success. Like if you can survive a winter in Mary T, like you can survive anywhere.
Yeah. And it's like, again, we're making fun of the pool and stuff a little bit, but what was created there is something special. That's for sure. Okay. So let's move forward to UK. Who was your first contact at Kentucky? Was it
My first
Don or was it
contact,
Gary?
It was actually an assistant coach or operations manager.
Margot?
Azerdy was her name, and
She
I
must have
can't
been,
remember.
yeah, that's okay.
But Margot, I knew Margot because Margot. I mean, sorry if this is bringing up the past, but Margot and Mike used to date
Mhm.
while I was in high school. So we would see her time to time, you know. So
Mhm.
we knew of Margot of like, is that the lady that Mike hangs out with? I mean, again, we're 13. We're not.
Yeah.
That's as far as we're thinking about it. Uh, and then when I started being recruited, it was like Margot, UK Margot. Yep, we know who that is. So I kind of had a foot in the door with Margot already, but the sprint coach was Sean Zatani and the head coach was Gary Conley at that time.
Okay. Yeah. It's so, when did we meet? It had to be, was it your sophomore year or like junior year or even later?
Feels earlier, like sophomore feels right. Seems
I
about
think
right.
so too, because
That would have
then,
been let's see, I graduated high school '06, went to UK '06, 7 would be my freshman year. Then '07, '08 would be sophomore.
gosh, I can't. So I was head coach. Yeah. I can't even remember, man. I know you were still swimming because when I finally came to coach the club team there, and I was the volunteer assistant, Don Gibb was there. I must have met you the year after Sean left.
Okay, so Don came in my senior year.
Okay, so then it was senior year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Still feel like I met you before that though. I don't know why.
Yeah, probably whether at Lakeside or something like that.
That's probably right.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about your college experience. Freshman year, like what it was like in the D1 SEC. What was it like at UK then versus where they were at that time and where they are now? I think is a completely different story. But yeah, just talk to us about UK.
For sure. When I went to UK, I mean they were becoming known to be a sprint dominated program because you had a gentleman there named Tim Farnham, Todd Patrick. I don't want to switch those names, but I mean these guys were going 19s in the day when 19 was probably what 18 mid is today.
Yeah, with swimflation.
Right, for swimflation. So that was pretty attractive. And then you had, while I was there, our women's team won SECs in the 4x50. So it was quite known for sprinting, and that I wanted to be a part of that. And Sean Zatani being the sprint coach, if I thought Todd Larkin was a psycho, Sean was like Todd times 10. So I was like, oh God, this is. And he trained swimmers the way you would think like the military trains Navy SEALs. It's like, what are we training for? Like there must be a war I don't know about because this makes no I have no correlation to this to my race. I mean, this man used to have us like the sets were so insane. I remember one day we all had tickets to a football game. Kentucky was playing Georgia, and the game started at noon or 1 o'clock. Practice started at 6:30 a.m. We missed that game.
Mm.
We missed that game. So I'm like, what the? What are we doing for 4 hours? And it was nonstop. Like we would. I remember there were some practices we would hit 7K easily, sprint group, and then there were some days we would get up to 9, and it was just like where we'd be like, get on the blocks, and I'm looking at the clock like, dude, it's 11:59. Like breakfast is over. Like what do we like? People would legitimately bring snacks to the pool to like eat midway through practice because it was just insane, and it wasn't like just grinding out yardage. It was like all out, like hard shit for a very long period of time. And I was like, I was not expecting this. So my freshman year felt more like survival, than training. And like once we got to like Christmas training trip, I remember being like, dude, I don't know if college swimming is for me. Like this is way too much. I mean, even at Lakeside, like we didn't do like, I was like 5 to 6K was like an average in Mike's group, you know, because I remember Mike would tell us like, you know, like we're not that high yardage of a program compared to like Nashville Aquatics or
Hmm.
Clippers or whatever teams were in the area that were kind of our rivals, or like Carmel, Indiana. So, I mean, even Mike was big on quality to some extent. So coming to UK and jumping to like 9, 10 as a sprint in the sprint group was unfathomable. Like that was crazy to me. But then we did training trip, and it was like everything switched. Like I remember talking to my friends. We were in like this jacuzzi, and I was like, guys, I maybe I'll just transfer to Louisville because I can't do it. Like this is crazy. And then like something just switched. We just started like going hardcore sprint and like shorter yardage practices. And I remember he made a comment like he could kind of see me like my speed coming back, me coming more alive. He's like, man, if we train like this, Elvis would probably go 19 tomorrow in the 50 fly. And I remember looking at him, I go, so why don't we train like this all the time? And then you could see his face kind of like, first of all, did this freshman just talk back to me? And then it was more of like, maybe he's got a point. So that summer was, let's see, what would that have been? That would have been '07. So yeah, I go back home. So I went back home to train over the summer because I was like, I can't do a summer at Kentucky training like this. Yeah. So I went back home, trained, and we do more sprint heavy stuff in the Bahamas. So I had a pretty decent summer. So when I came back, you know, we had a conversation of what type of training I felt I needed, et cetera, and slowly started tailoring to more of the race pace type training versus just Navy SEAL. Like that's really the only way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Like I remember we did a set that I swear he would just make these things up in like the middle of the night and just come in like, we're going to do this. I saw it in a dream. And he had this set he called Gator Breath. And we would sit on the wall. You'd put your head under the water like this, and he would hold you there for 30 seconds. So holding your breath on the wall for 30 seconds. And then he would say, go, and you'd have to sprint a 50, no breath. And then when you got back to the wall, you would have to go like this for another 30 seconds. I was like, and it was like 10 or 15 rounds of that. And they were on like 30 seconds rest. I'm like, what? This is nuts. So, of course, we're all like dying.
Yeah.
Like, and he'd be like, you better not fucking breathe or you're doing it over. And dude, I'm getting lightheaded just thinking about it. And I remember like you would look over at people like, is anyone actually making this? And you'd look over and you'd see some guy just like convulsing underwater. And then like as soon as he would turn around to look at something, you'd be like trying to like sneak a bet. Dude, it was so we would do crazy shit like that. But I mean, I hate to use the term mental toughness. That shit, like my sophomore year, summer, like nothing could phase me. It's like, bring it on. Sure. 4 minutes, no breath, hold your breath underwater. Okay, no problem. I can do that.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your first SECs then. Did that translate to the times you wanted to see on the board, or what was that first championship meet like?
My first SECs was pretty terrible, to be honest. I didn't go that much faster than I had in high school, and I felt kind of embarrassed because I was like, man, I've trained 10 times harder here than I did when I was in high school. Like, why am I swimming slower or just as I did in high school? And SECs, my freshman year was in Kentucky, so it was like at home. And you know, making the SEC team as a freshman already, even though I was probably like one of the, you know, last filler spots, it was still like a thing of pride, you know, like, hey, you made SECs as a freshman, you know? And I remember Mike DeBoer actually came up to watch me swim too. So he was in the stands. I think my parents were in the stands too. No, I don't think they were, but you know, it didn't go the way I was expecting it to go, and that was disappointing. And Sean Zatani had to talk with me about how to overcome a bad swim, and hey, this is new training for you. Like, you came from slacking off in high school to now me getting up your ass. Like, it's gonna take you some time, but also I graduated early. I graduated like 16 years old, so I was like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I was like 17 at SECs, and where everyone in my class was like 19 plus. So I swam like a high schooler because I pretty much was a high schooler.
Yeah, touche.
Yeah. So, but I never let that like get in my head, because I never used that as an excuse. I was like, hey, I'm here. I should be with these
Yeah.
people, and watching Cesar Cielo go like 19 flat in the pool I train at every day was like, why can't I should be going 19. I should be in that heat. I should be with these guys, which is delusional to think of, but in order to get to that point, you have to be delusional. Because if you don't think you're going to get there, you're not going to get there. No one surprisingly becomes great.
Yep.
It's not a surprise when you get there. It's, yeah, this was in me and now I've unlocked it.
So do you think it was just too much going into your first championship season? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it the training style? Was it too much work in the sense of like 9, 10K days? Or was it like, do you have an answer as to why you feel like the first year wasn't the way you wanted it to be? And then how did you guys adjust the plan going forward to swim better?
I think I'm probably going to contradict a lot of what I say when I answer this question. I think it was too much, but at the same time, I think it was what I needed at that time in my life, because I was a slacker. I did the bare minimum to get the bare maximum coming out of high school. Dude, when I showed up to Kentucky, you can ask Margot this. The first thing Margot said to me was, "Why don't you know how to streamline?" I used to streamline like this. Seriously, I would flip and I would have one hand out. I did not know how to get into a streamline until like Margot beat it in my head every day. She was like, "You better streamline off of what are you doing? This is college. Like, how are you not streamlining? Like, you should have learned that when you were 6." Like, so I was very, very raw talent coming out of high school. So I kind of needed to learn that I could hit levels that I had never touched before. Like, I would have never thought I could do a 9K practice until I had to do a 9K practice. And then after that 9K practice, it was like, hey, you guys are going to do a 4-mile Indian run. I was like, what the hell is that? It's like, oh yeah, when you're in the back, you got to run to the front. Yeah, so for those who don't know what an Indian run is, I had to learn it myself. So you run in like a single file line, the whole class, and then whoever's in the back of the line has to run all the way to the front and then lead. And then once you get to the front, the person in the back has to also run in the front. So you're just continuously like changing leaders. And I was the worst runner, still am, hate running. So you're telling me I got to run 4 miles when, like, in a day when I don't think I've ever ran 4 miles in my life combined? So, Indian style? Like, what? After a 9K practice? This isn't, no. So I remember just being like, I can't do it. And then I would do it and I'd be like, oh, I guess I could do it. So it taught me how to push past the point of, like, I don't want to use the word pain, but like pain became just like irrelevant. It was mental, It was like you could just kind of block out the pain or block out the fatigue and then just do things because you told yourself to do them. And that set me up to perform not great, but it set me up to train great for the next 3 years in college. So sophomore year, I swam better.
What year was that? I'm getting this timetable going. What year was that?
So sophomore year was 07, 08.
There we go. Okay.
And SEC's was at Alabama that year. So I swam better. I dropped time, and I remember dropping time in all my races, but I still hadn't swam to the level that I knew was inside me, you know? But we were still training with Sean Zatani, still doing a lot of those, big workouts, but I was able to handle them better now. Like 9K, 6K was like nothing. It's like, okay, whatever, I'm doing it. But he really refined on my technique. Like we perfected my start, perfected my turn, learned how to stream, like, like, so at this point now it was like, okay, now he's got great technique. He's got the foundation. And then that summer, let's see, my best time in the 50 free was long course 23.8. So, which was like decent for 17, 18-year-old kid at that time. But the Olympic cut was 23.10.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to drop like a full second to go to the Olympics in the 50 free in like 3 months. So, which, if any high school kid came to you and asked you that, in your head, you're going to be like, that's impossible. But I remember telling myself, okay, I know I have a better shot of making the Olympics maybe in 2012 when I have, some age and size and training under myself. But why would I wait when it's like here right now? So I have to at least try, and I said, even if I don't expect to make it. So, but I won't be able to sleep by myself if I don't try, if I don't do everything possible. So I set up the situation to train at Kentucky over the summer, and I made a pact to myself, my coaches, and my teammates. I said, every day I come to this pool, I'm going to train to the brink of death. Like I will either die in this pool or I'll survive. Like that was my mentality every single day. Like I'm not leaving anything in this pool because I don't want to look back and say I didn't make the Olympics because on May 15th I slacked off on that one turn or I took a breath into the wall. Like I wanted to have zero excuses like when that time came, basically preparing myself for not making it. I wanted to be able to say I didn't make it, but I did everything damn possible to try. So, I mean, I trained like a maniac. We had our weight training. We did a lot more power sprint training during the summer. And I think that was kind of the switch that showed, okay, we got to get this kid strong and connected into the water. So we did a lot more like power racks, stretch cords, just racing sets, like suit up, come to the pool, race. And another big thing that I think helped me too is I went to every swim meet I could afford to go to. So just practicing actual racing. Like I went to the Charlotte Grand Prix. Back then it was called the Ultra Swim. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went to that. I went to meet in Indiana. I went to this meet, that, like any meet that I could afford to go to. I was going to meets like, who do I know in this city? Yeah, hey, can I sleep on your couch? Like, can I carpool with you to the meet? Like as cheap as possible. Like I did every meet, and each meet I was hitting like 23.8, 23.8, 23.8. So I was going like the exact same times all summer. And it got to a point where I was like, man, 23.1 isn't going to happen, But Bahamas Nationals comes around, and I flew home maybe like 3 weeks before, and I had some workouts from Sean, and they were basically like taper workouts. So it was like I was tapering in the Bahamas. So it was a lot of like go to the pool, warm up, 25 fast, 50 fast, like some real getting spicy, feeling the speed. And I remember just being like, this is kind of an interesting story. One day I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, I'm sick of this. I'm training too hard. Like, So I don't think swimming's for me. And I just stopped showing up to the pool. Like I didn't go to practice for like 3 days, maybe 4 days. And the lady who was the director of the YMCA in the Bahamas, her name was Miss Karen Johnson. She's actually the mother of Marvin Johnson, who's a
Mm.
swimmer in Florida right now. Yeah, so I've known Marvin since he was a baby. Shout out Marvin. So Karen Johnson calls me and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" It's like, I'm chilling. Like I'm not coming to practice. What are you talking about? She's like, I got the Freeport News here. They want to interview you for the next Olympian from Freeport. I was like, ha, very funny. She's like, no, I called them. Why would you do that? I quit like 3 days ago. She's like, come to the pool. They want to interview you. Bring a suit. I'm like, this lady's crazy. But that's Karen. You can't say no to Karen Johnson. Like that's. So I show up to the pool. I'm like, hey, whatever. Let's do this interview. Like, blah blah blah. Like, nationals is in 4 days. Like, how are you feeling? You ready to make the Olympics and be the next Olympian? And I'm like, yeah, sure, man. Like, sounds great. Like, cool. Good luck if you even see me there. I hadn't even bought a ticket because nationals was in Nassau and I lived in Freeport, so it was just like a 30-minute flight away. But I was like, I'm not going. Like literally, like I was not going. Like I had quit. But I hadn't told anybody. I just quit in my head,
Silent
So
quit.
yeah. So I remember the reporter was like, "So what do you think you're gonna go? Like the Olympic cut is this and blah blah blah." And Miss Johnson's in the background like a hype man. She's like, "Oh, he's gonna break that. He's gonna go a new record. He's gonna smash that time. He's gonna go to 23-1. Just watch." And I'm like, "Oh my god, she's like hyping this up so much. Like if I don't show up, it's gonna be bad." But I'm not. I'm still not showing up. And I kid you not, mid interview, she goes, "Put on that suit. Let's go right now. I got a stopwatch." And I was like, God, for fuck's sake. So, like I say, you can't say no to Karen Johnson. So I put on just a regular brief, like a drag suit, hop on the blocks, like the shitty, really crappy, like the blocks were made of like basically plexiglass, just like anything we could get from the hardware store, slap it on top of the iron frame and like drill it down. So they're like you're on the block and it's like bowing, and it's like this thin. So it's not even and we could put like grip tape on it. Like it's not a real block. So crappy pool, crappy block, no warm up. I was like, I'm just gonna cruise a 50. I'm just gonna go an easy 50, make it look good for the cameras. So the reporter's there with his, camera. Miss Johnson's there with a stopwatch. And it's a short course pool though. And she's like, ready, go. I jump off the blocks, start doing my kick out and my breakout. And I was like, huh, feels kind of good. So I'm going into the wall. I'm like, this wall got here a little faster than I remember. Kick out again off the wall. Like, that felt kind of nice too. Well, let me just go nice and strong into the wall. And I touched the wall and she's like, 23-1. My God, I told you he can do it. And I was like, ha ha ha, very funny. And she shows me the watch and I was like, what? And the reporter's like writing all this down. They're like, he just went the Olympic time in the practice, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like now my heart's like pumping. I'm like, shit, like this might be possible. So there's literally a photo, like I'd have to dig it up and try to find it, but there's a photo of me like right after that. I hop out of the water and I put on some shorts and Karen Johnson is on one side and then another YMCA representative is on the other side of me. Like I'm like drenched, still sweating, like, and the photographer took the photo like right in front of the pool, like right after that. And it's like, goes the Olympic time in practice or something. And I was like, I bought my ticket that night. I was like, well, see if we could do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I show up to Bahamas Nationals and the coach who I was training with at the time, I was like, hey, I'm just going to try to recreate that. Like, I'm going to go on the block, no warm up, cold turkey, and see if we can go the Olympic time. Because that's what I just did. I went cold turkey, no warm up. Like, why ruin the juju? So I threw on a jammer, did a time trial right off the, like, literally plane, landed, pool, time trial. Like, nothing in between. So I do the time trial. I hit the wall and like I touch the wall and I hear the whole crowd go, "Oh!" And I look at the clock and it was like 23, like if the cut was 1-0, I went like 1-9 or like 2-0 or something. So I was like, shit, like
It's
this is
on.
it's getting close. So that night I could barely sleep. I was like, oh my God, like this might be possible. So I show up to the pool the next morning and I was like, time trial, right now, time trial, let's go. And then my coach was like, you know what? No more cold turkey bullshit. Like, do a proper warm up. Like, let's suit up. Let's do something nice. And then there was an Olympian at the time named Jeremy Knowles, and he was like, hey, like, you're close. I want you to try this. And he hands me the Speedo Laser, the full body. And I was like, huh, I've never worn a full body before. And he was like, well, it's kind of like a prototype. Like, we got to test them at Auburn. This one may be a little stretched out since I've used it a couple times, but it'll be better than nothing. Like, just try it out. So he gave me that. I did a couple warm-up sprints with it. Like, it was like, feels weird on my legs, but whatever. I feel great. So I do the time trial, touch the wall. Crowd's going crazy. People are on the blocks, like jumping, like hopping in the pool with me. And I'm like, what? And I look up and it's like 22:88. And I was like, oh, we're going, baby. Yeah. After that, I don't remember any of the meet after that. I was like, I don't give a fuck. So there was a long story.
That's an amazing story. Where do we even go from there? I mean, that's like the cherry on top already.
Yeah. Podcast over.
And ciao.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's talk about from then to going to Beijing.
See, I had prepared so much to make the team and to make it to Beijing that once I got there, I didn't know what to do. I was like, wait, we have to perform? I thought you just made it, So I think I ended up going like 23 low or something, like 1 or 2. I like choked on water like literally choked on water and figuratively choked in the race. But it was weird though, because that's when they flip flop for NBC time zone. So we were swimming the prelims at night instead of like prelims in the morning. So, and then I was there. We flew out there like a month early. So we spent maybe a week or 2 in Singapore for a training trip, which was amazing. Beautiful country. We stayed in this 5-star hotel. In fact, the USA swim team was there too. So like I'd walk past Michael Phelps for breakfast like every morning. Like it's kind of interesting, It's like, oh, hey guys, like Team USA and then Team Bahamas. Yeah, but it was pretty cool though, because Team USA was like what, 30, 50 people, and Team Bahamas was 4. So we're in this like 5-star hotel. We had our own private driver. So we'd walk out and USA Swimming would be waiting on like this, big ugly bus to pick them up to go to the pool. And we'd be like, excuse us, like the Mercedes, our limo is here. Like, brokies, watch out. Yeah, but so that was an interesting experience. So then from Singapore, we went to Beijing. The coolest thing about the Olympics is there was a free McDonald's in the village. So you could just walk up to the counter and be like, I want 20 cheeseburgers, and they would just give it to you. Like, no questions asked.
Like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Which is an extremely dangerous amount of power to give a 17, 18-year-old kid who has to swim in 2 weeks. So yeah, it was definitely a temptation. Let's sneak like a 4-piece nuggets. Don't tell coach,
Put it in your backpack.
Right. And then the opening ceremony is basically the night before the swim races. So you kind of have to make this decision of, do I want to go to the opening ceremony, which is potentially a once in a lifetime opportunity, spend all night on my feet, and then have to race the next morning? or do I skip it and focus on my race? You know, and of course, me, I'm like, I'm not getting a medal. Fuck yeah, I'm going to the opening ceremony. You know, like, so you're out there for like 10 hours, you know, lining up, bussing out to the stadium, standing out there. Like when they're doing the whole performance, you know, before like the athletes walk in, the athletes are lined up outside waiting. So in the heat, in the rain, whatever it is, you're just, and each time you're like moving maybe like 20 feet forward because they march everybody through and it takes like hours. Yeah, we're out there standing up in like a full suit jacket, tie,
Oh man.
dress shoes. Like people don't realize that, which is why I like that other Olympics when they were kind of like on boats coming through. So
Paris.
like they weren't walking, you know, so you kind of get to save your legs. But yeah, I remember that was, you know, I remember Jeremy, he had to swim like the 100 fly the next day, or he had a big race the next day, and he was like really trying to walk. Every opportunity he got, he was like trying to sit down. I remember that. So it was a very interesting experience, but I knew I went there kind of with the mentality of go there for the experience, learn as much as you can. And I had a conversation with a track athlete on the Bahamas team who was actually a multi-medalist. His name was, I'm not making this up. His name was Chris Brown. He was a
Of
legend
course.
in the 400. Yeah, look him up. Chris Brown, track star, Bahamas. He was a legend
Right.
in the 400 meters, like medalist. And I got to meet, you know, talk to a lot of those guys because track is huge in the Bahamas and very successful. And he asked me, he was like, "You got your race tomorrow? Like, what are you gonna do?" I was like, "Oh, you know, I'm just here for the experience, like looking for maybe go a best time." And he's like, stop right there." He's like, I'm so sick and tired of you swimmers." He said, "Every big meet I go to with you swimmers, you guys always say you're here for the experience and blah blah blah. When are you guys going to start talking about coming here for a medal?" He's like, "You think I'm here for an experience? Like I'm here to win. Like if you're not here to win, like go home." And that like, and he wasn't saying it like in a rude way, you know, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure I'm making it sound a little more harsh than it probably was, but that's how harsh it hit me. And that really stuck with me. I was like, he's right. I've never heard, you know, a Bahamian come to a big meet like that and say, "I'm here to medal," or, you know, "I'm here to do some damage." And that, I went back to Kentucky with like that in my mind. Like, world championships next year, I'm coming to do damage. Like, there's no more, "I'm here for the experience" anymore. So that was kind of transformative for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when I was at Lakeside, Mike D used to say, swim to win. Like at the
Mm-hmm.
end of every pre race conversation, it was swim to win. And like that was the end of it. And so, yeah, that embodies that same mentality and statement. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
pretty good. That's pretty awesome, man. You know, obviously you said you had 4 summers, but you guys had a really good squad. I mean, because Ariana was there too, right? Ariana Vanderpool Wallace. Was she there that
Yeah.
year?
Yeah, she was. That we were all babies. She was
Yeah.
younger than me. So she was probably like 17 at the time when she made it. Yeah, it was Jeremy Knowles, Alana Dillette. She was a year above me. Also in our, actually, I mentioned this last night on our podcast. All of us, three of them were Auburn swimmers. I was the only
Hmm.
non-Auburn swimmer. But actually, I wonder if Ariana was still in high school because she was a bowl swimmer.
Yep. Wait, I didn't know she was at Bowles.
Yeah, she swam at Bulls maybe a year or two, and then she
That's
went to Auburn. Yeah, yeah. Bulls had a grip on the Caribbean when we were growing up, man. Yeah, Sean Frazier went there.
yep.
Brett Frazier, like I remember. Yeah, we were very familiar with the Bulls coaches growing up. Bulls and UF. But
Yeah.
yeah, Ariana, Alana, and Jeremy all went to Auburn, and I was the only non-Auburn swimmer there. So, I mean, like I said, we were all there for the experience. You know, we were kids. But Ariana was like, I mean, she was great. You know, she was close. I mean, there was a chance she could have made semis, but like, you know, not like a great chance. But she swam well. We were all happy about it. And then we all went and partied afterwards in a true Olympic fashion. But, you know, coming back to Kentucky that would have been 08, 09. And that's
Yep.
when it really clicked for me of like, I know the type of training I need. I know the type of racing I can do, and I have the mentality I want. So like everything clicked. And that was the year that Sean Zatani left because he got recruited by Great Britain to coach them. So we had a volunteer assistant at the time, Jamie Doctor. I don't know if you remember the doc.
I worked with him.
Yeah. So Jamie Doctor was helping Sean out like that first semester, first half of the season, and then when Sean left, the sprint group went to Gary and we were like, "Hey, we love Jamie. Like we just keep him through the year, and then at the end of the year, if you want to hire someone else, so be it. But like we need him to finish out the season." So Jamie took over our. I really connected with Jamie. Like out of any coach I've had at UK, he and I really hit it off the most. And he really tailored my training to, super high quality, super race pace. Like we had suit up Saturdays. Like Saturday
Hmm.
we'd come in, warm up, suit up, race like 50 free, warm down, 100 fly, warm down. And it was like, you need to be hitting in practice what we're going to be hitting at meets. So that year I told myself, I was like, I'm never going to lose 100 fly in any dual meet ever. And I pretty much remained undefeated from junior year straight through the rest of my career
Wow.
because of that type of training. Yeah. I mean, we were dropping like 47 lows in practice. I mean, which probably sounds like nothing now, swimflation. We were like, so I credit Jamie a lot to probably a lot of my success at Kentucky in my junior year. And then that's when World Championships was in Rome, and I broke 4 national records there. So probably some of the best swimming I had ever done. They decided to not give. Jamie did apply for the position, but they decided to give it to Don. Don came with my theory. Well, I know why Jamie didn't get the job. He didn't really get along with the other assistant coaches behind the scenes, but he got along well with the swimmers, but not the coaches because he was a very controversial character. He did not hesitate to let you know if you were doing something stupid, and that rubs people the wrong way sometimes. So, but also I know Gary was on his way to retiring, and I think he was looking for someone to be more head coach experienced. So that's why he hired Don Gibb. Don Gibb had, that level of experience to be able to be a head coach one day. So we had Don Gibb for my senior year.
So, I mean, that's actually a pretty good, sorry, that's a pretty good transition because if you think about going from Sean, where it was full gas, yardage, etc., Jamie was probably like the transition point because you were going into race pace, more traditional sprinting. And then Don Gibbs' program, from my memory, was very sprint oriented, correct? I mean, because I remember being on deck and you guys would be going, whatever, 4 rounds of 6:15s on 3 minutes. And that was, 2009 or so. Is that how you remember it also? Or what was that senior year like for you?
Yeah. So when you messaged me saying that you wanted to talk about training with Don Gibb, I was like, oh dear, what answer is he possibly looking for? Because my memories now, like I love Don Gibb as a person, but I hated Don Gibb as a coach. I tell you that now. Don Gibb, from what I remember, and I may be blocking out all the good stuff because the bad stuff stuck with me, but we did a lot of yardage under Don. I remember we had workouts that were 10 200s followed by 2100s. And it was like almost daily. It was kind of like it was so routine. It was like, okay, on this day you're going to do this, on this day you're going to do that. Like it was like pretty much we knew what workouts we were going to be doing from day one all the way to the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't used to that level of programming, I guess.
Yep.
And even if that's how Jamie had programmed it, he never like each day was like one day at a time. Where Don was like, I already wrote the whole season for you. And that didn't sit well with me because I was like, you don't even know what I need, or what if I'm tired midway? Like, how are we going to adjust? You know? So a lot of those nuances got lost.
Hmm.
And a lot of Don's training style was like self accountability. And I wasn't at a point in my career where I could do that. Like I needed a coach to guide me, you know, to kind of get on me, you know. And Don was like, "Here's a workout, like do it." So that was hard, that was a hard transition for me. And losing Sean and Jamie was a tough transition for our group because we were so close knit, so tight, and we had this atmosphere of just high testosterone, toxic masculinity, just So when we kind of lost all of that, it felt like it felt like we were a bunch of individuals training together instead of a team.
Yeah.
So I didn't swim bad under Don, but I didn't like progress the way I felt I should have. Like I pretty much swam kind of stagnant. Like my times from '09 SECs to 2010 SECs were pretty like the same.
Okay. Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, gosh, there was a particular software that he was using at the time, and believe it or not, I'm pretty sure Arthur Albiero at U of L was using the same program. There was like this small circle of guys that were following. I feel like it must have been like a Ukrainian or Russian sports scientist that had this software where you would put in all the variables for each individual kid, and it would spit out the program for the whole year. Once I post this, I'll tag it because it is around still, I believe, and he was using this.
That
And so,
sounds that makes so much sense.
yeah, because I'm pretty sure I still have maybe even your senior year's entire program because I have workouts from my entire career. Anytime anyone sent me something, I still have them all.
Wow.
So
I would
I'm
hate I
nine.
would hate to see them. I don't want to bring back those memories.
Yeah, and you're right. There was things like because it was always on like 20 seconds rest or 15 seconds rest, but the memories I had that's coming back, but was on like Saturdays or maybe this must have been late season. I don't remember so long ago, but there was a lot of the short sprints on long rest, and maybe that was after you. To be fair,
It was kind of mixed. Like we would have
yeah,
days where it was that, but like I said, like I remember, I mean, there were days where we did power racks too, and it was just, it just didn't feel like it was just too hodgepodge. I was like, why am I training like a 4 a.m.er one day and then I'm training like a 25 freestyler the next day? Like nothing flowed into each other. So I felt like, oh great, I'm broken down from swimming yardage and I feel slow. Now I'm like fighting to go fast on a 15. So like those 6:15s you're talking about, like it's coming back to my brain. But I remember doing them and being like, I feel like I'm swimming aerobic because I was
mm-hmm.
just so broken down. I had no
So
speed.
flat.
Yeah. So I highly doubt I even took 3 minutes rest because I was like, I'm just getting cold. I'm not getting any speed. So they just became aerobic workouts. And like I said, when you have self accountability, like do it on your own, I was like, well, fuck this. Like if you don't care to watch me and critique me, then why should I care?
Mm.
Yeah, I was crazy.
That was a hard year. That was a hard year for you.
Yeah, it was. But like I said, I didn't swim like horribly, so I can't really say, like he completely ruined my life. But I just felt like I was on such a good trajectory of, times because, I mean, I basically dropped, let's see, freshman year at 100 fly, I went like 51 low, which was basically what I went in high school. Then sophomore year, I think I touched 49 finally. It's like 49 mid or something. And then junior year, I was 46. So I'm like, senior year, I better win SECs. Like I need to be 45. I need to be racing Tim Phillips. Like I got to beat that guy next year. So, when I end up going like 47 flat, coming seventh at SECs, I was just like, this is exactly what I did last year. Like I'm not impressed. I should have won. So I guess my bar was higher than I felt Don got me to.
Okay, that's fair. So once you graduate, what happened next? Where did you go from there?
I did another semester, so I swam with Don a little longer, like pro, I guess. And I sat him down. I was like, "Look, Don, like this 2100s, 10200s bullshit is not going to work. Like, I gotta, I gotta sprint, man. I gotta go fast." And anyone being pro trying to swim with the college team, there's its challenges. And at this point, Sean Zatani was in Miami at the University of Miami, so he's hitting me up like, "Yo, come on down. Let's start a pro team. Like, come train with me. South Beach, Miami, like sunshine, outdoors. I know you like that." Typical Sean fashion, great recruiter. So I thought it over and I was like, I went to a swim meet at Ohio State, some like Grand Prix meet, and I swam again, flat, average. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to make a change. So, and at this point, all my teammates have graduated and gone on to do whatever else. So, like, what's keeping me in Kentucky isn't there anymore. So I said, fuck it, Sean, I'm coming to Miami, taking my talents to South Beach. And when I was like looking for a place to live, I was like, man, I can't afford Miami. Like, I'm going to need a roommate. And Miami only had a girls' team, a women's team. So,
Yeah. By the way, yeah.
yeah. So there's no way I was going to room with respectfully, because I was in a relationship at the time, so I was like, yeah, that's not gonna fly. Hey, yeah, I'm moving to South Beach and I'm rooming with a female swimmer who I barely know. That's gonna go over great. While I was looking for places, one of my buddies from the Virgin Islands called me. His name was Brandon Whitehurst. He was a IMer freestyler who swam at Texas. He's like, hey man, like looking at somewhere to train pro. Like I'm done at Texas. What are you doing? I heard you were swimming pro. How's Kentucky looking? I was like, bro, I'm in Miami right now and I need a roommate. Like, come on, let's do it. Like, I'm literally in the apartment right now. I'll send you a photo, like with the realtor. And he was like, looks good. See ya. So yeah. So we both moved down to Miami, like just like that. And yeah, started training with Sean. And shortly after I moved, Sean ended up separating separating from the University of Miami. So now I'm like, shit, I moved all this way and now I don't even have a coach. And then the Miami coach at the time, she asked me, she was like, do you know anyone who'd be interested in this job? Because she was more like mid D distance. She was like, we need a sprint coach. And I was like, Jamie Doctor would be great. So Jamie came down and worked with us like in the interim for a while. And then I don't know what happened, but he didn't take the job or didn't apply or didn't get along with the head coach, typical Jamie fashion. But he the team liked him, trained with him for a bit, and then I said, okay, if you don't like Jamie, try this guy. His name's Aaron Charla. He was a coach at Auburn because Aaron had called me. He was like, hey, heard Miami's looking for a coach. Like, I was like, yes, they are. He's like, you think you could put in a good word? And I was like, yes, I can. So I went to the coach. I was like, hey, I know this coach at Auburn. He's interested. Got to keep it on the low because he's still working there, respectfully. But he was the coach for the Bahamas at the World Championships in Rome, 2009, where I swam great. And he and I really hit it off. And working with him and training with him during that camp, I could tell he was very sprint oriented, and he was working with Cesar Cielo at that time, and had worked with Fred Bousquet, and he himself was a 19 low 50 freestyler out of college, so he knew sprint. So I said, hey, give this guy a call, and they flew him down for an interview, and I told the coach, I was like, listen, I'm not even going to go into that. No, I'm not going to tell that story. But I knew once he interviewed, he would get that job, and so it all worked out. Like I ended up in Miami where I wanted to be, sunshine, close to the Bahamas. Ended up training with a coach I respected and connected well with. We swam great, and it was a great situation. I stayed there till 2012, and then I went back to grad school at Kentucky after that.
And so I think the pro squad you guys were trying to create. I mean, I remember a Nike advertisement with you, correct?
Oh yeah,
Right?
I did. Yeah,
There was something. So I couldn't remember the time frame, but I remember maybe like even Panel Swim Shop in Lexington at the time. There was like the big advert up of you with the Nike suit on. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like that's Elvis. So
that's so funny. Yeah, yeah. So Nike is always interesting. They go into swimming like 2 years before every Olympics, and then after the Olympics, they realize, this isn't for us, and then they pull out. I swear this has happened like 3 times already, and I see them getting back into it now again, and I'm like, here we go again.
same old script.
Right. So I don't know if it still works this way, but at the time, Nike Swimming is owned by Perry Ellis.
Hmm.
It's not like owned by Nike. It's like kind of farmed out to Perry Ellis, like a licensing deal of some sort. So, because basketball and all those other sports are probably so big, they're like, we don't have time for this. Like Perry Ellis is a smaller brand, like let them deal with it. And I think Speedo kind of operates like that. I think Speedo's owned
Yeah.
by what's the company?
It's a massive corporation now.
I can't remember. But anyway,
Yeah.
so Maritza Karaya she had a big job at Nike Swim at that time. She was like the athlete development brand ambassador, marketing head, or something. But she reached out and was like, "Hey, we're looking for some athletes to represent Nike." And I was like, "Look no further, my girl." Like,
I'm ready.
yeah, right. And at that point, my social media was popping. Like, I was kind of putting myself out there before anyone was really doing it. Like people think like this is me just talking trash. Like I've been talking trash for
Forever.
decade, like a while, you know. So my name was kind of already out there, but yeah, they selected me to do the Nike ads. It's pretty cool though. We got flown out to California. My buddy Zach McGinnis got selected too, so we were out there just acting a fool, like, partying with the Nike executives and like getting all the other athletes hyped. So that was pretty cool. And Nike had some great. It always makes me sad because they have the money and the research to like come up with great products. Like they'd be like, "Oh, we want to make a cool goggle. Like, steal the guy from Speedo who made the goggle. Hire him for us. Oh, we want to make a great suit. Steal the guy from Arena. Make this. So they had the money to like basically like Elon Musk building SpaceX, just poaching off NASA.
Yep.
So and they had a really good suit. I think it was called the NG1. So, man, it hurts my heart to see them come and go like that. But yeah, so we rep Nike for a bit. Good time, man. You got a good memory. Forgot about that. Actually, this logo is kind of based off of one of the photos I took for Nike. They had me like wear the Nike. They had a new bullet cap and goggles. I was modeling for. So I was coming out of the water and they wanted to see like, when the water hasn't like broken the surface tension yet. So my head was like halfway out of the water, but all the water was still around me and they had like a high speed camera. Oh yeah. It was sick. Yeah. I'll send you the photo. I don't know if you like edited it in or something.
Yeah, send it.
So this logo is actually kind of based off of that photo when you'll see it.
I'm surprised you don't have it framed in your apartment or something.
Maybe I definitely. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I did at one point. I had a huge. Actually, my girlfriend at the time gave it to me as a gift. She contacted Maritza, got the original file of that photo, and then took it to like one of those shops, had it blown up and framed, and had my name under it.
Sick.
And it was like just like hanging in my room. And I had it in my apartment one time, just like right over the bed, which. Which
Anyway.
was cool. It was cool as a bachelor, but then when you start getting into a dating life, and then you bring someone home, and they're like, "Why is there a shrine of you over your bed?"
I Oh, okay, good point.
Yeah, but it was like, well, let me tell you a cool story about this shrine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
hilarious.
then I think shortly thereafter, I mean, I know I'm probably missing some time. I mean, you ended up at Rollins, right? As a
Oh
coach,
yeah,
as a coach.
shout out Rollins Swimming. Yeah,
Yep.
so after grad school, 2014, I graduated. That's when Gary was retiring from coaching. He had retired like the year before that. And my last year of grad school is when Lars Jorgensen took over. So I was a grad assistant under Lars. Did not enjoy that at all. Yeah, I'll say that. Did not enjoy that. And Lars was very anti anything from the Gary era.
Very.
Like
Yeah.
I halfway understand it. Like he wanted to like solidify his own legacy, but it came across as this guy is alienating all the alumni and everything we've built and basically telling us all to fuck off. He just wants to work with these new nobodies. And that upset a lot of people, me included. And me and a gentleman named Tyler Reed were training for world championships or short course worlds that year. And he basically like wouldn't let us train in the pool. And it came to a point where he kind of like kicked us out of the pool one day we were training. And Tyler Reed is like one of the most chill people.
Very chill.
And and he went off on Lars like in the middle of practice in front of everybody and just like laid into him. Even I was just like, and then it was like another coach had to separate us and was like, let's talk about this after practice. So me and Tyler go to the locker room and we're like fuming. So calm down. After practice, we all like, I think we met in like that atrium right before you walk into the pool, like Kentucky. And Lars starts talking and Tyler just cuts him off. He's like, I don't want to hear it. Like, we're here training. Like, he's like, I'm on the U.S. like national team going to short course world championships. And you're telling me I can't train in my own pool? Like, I've been here way longer than you. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, and I mean, Tyler laid into the. I sat there quiet. I was just like, it's like, dude, he was laying into him so hard. Dude, it was so epic. Shout out Tyler Reed. Yeah. And then after that, it was like, okay, I'll give you guys like a lane. You can train with Derek Perkins, who was sprint coach at the time. And it was never the same after that. It was like, we were like the scum, like the outskirts, like, oh, those guys over there, which was crazy to think of. It's like, dude,
Absolutely crazy.
because Tyler won a medal at that World Championships. Like, why would you not want to brag about that? Like, hey, this Kentucky swimmer, like a World Championships medal. And Lars was just like, nah, fuck you guys. Like, whatever. So that rubbed us the wrong way. And I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. So I ended up in Orlando because my buddy Eric McGinnis was coaching. He was a strength coach at the time. So he was working in Orlando for a highly specified strength and conditioning facility. And he was like, hey, man, like, come down to Orlando. We can be roommates. Live with me. I'll write your workouts. I'll have someone else implement them. So we're not like, because I know you'll be pissed. You'll be upset with me by the end of the day if you got to see me every day and I'm coaching you. So he's like, I'll consult on your workouts. We'll get you strong. We'll make Elvis great again. And there's this local coach here who used to coach at Auburn, like with Dave Marsh and them. Like he's trained Aaron Charla, who you're very fond of. Like, this is the guy for you. His name's Rocco, who coached Rocco Aceto in Orlando. So I came down, met Rocco, met the facility, swam a little bit, and I was like, it's not Miami, but it's still Florida, still warm, still outdoors. It's a change. Let's do it. And then, so I trained with Rocco and Eric through 2016. And then after 2016, Rocco was like, hey, Rollins, some guy from Rollins called asking me if I wanted to help him coach, or they're looking for a coach or something. You interested? I was like, And I wasn't like ready to. I was ready to retire from swimming, but not ready to retire from swimming. So I felt this was kind of like a bridge to like, hey, like this will you can stay around the water without being in the water. So I took the job for one season and put a lot of my training philosophies into the sprint group. We had a ton of best times, ton of school records, great conference. We did great things. So that's how I ended up at Rollins.
Yeah, Rollins is a slept-on program. We've got the head coach coming on. I don't know if we've scheduled him yet, but Walker's coming on.
Yeah, it's been the first week of July.
I believe one of the head coaches there was a Kentucky alumni or one of the coaches.
Correct. That's them. And actually, his brother, I believe, transferred from Kentucky and has been setting records and all kinds of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. So both the Thannings are there. And I think Walker was at UK when I was still coaching there too.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Because I popped over there one time for like an alumni meet or something, and I was like, "Hey, I heard you're the Kentucky guy." Kind of talked to them a little bit, but yeah, Rollins is a beautiful campus. Beautiful campus. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my kids is there now, and he just graduated. He swam lights out at Rollins. I mean, set all records: 100 breasts, 2 IM, maybe 50 free, 100 free. I could be off on some of those, but definitely all the breaststrokes and the IMs. So I'm excited to have them on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a cool experience.
Yeah. Good times. Well, we got the history of Elvis B. So now let's start to dive into the most talked about topic in swimming, which is the enhanced games. And we're going to we haven't talked a lot about this because I was kind of waiting. We've talked about it a little bit through stories or whatever, but I believe you guys have one of the best takes on this. And swimming has a really hard time with nuance. Some coaches love to have everything fit in this box of the enhanced games is good or it's bad. This particular type of training is good. This type of training is bad. And there's no nuance. There's no gray area to have legitimate conversations. So I think the day after the games, you posted something like all of the enhanced games hate is fake or forced, something like that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess maybe you just chat more on that point and how you kind of see everything at the moment.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of the hate comes from feeling that I have to hate this, not necessarily that I actually hate this. Because when I ask someone like, well, why do you hate it? They say, oh, well, because taking drugs is cheating. It's like, okay, taking drugs is cheating because it's against the rules. In the enhanced games, it's not against the rules. Therefore, it's not cheating. So are you mad so you can't be mad that they're cheating because they're not cheating. So now you're mad that they're taking drugs or performance enhancers. It's like, but also you don't have to take them. It's optional. So that's their decision to make. Are you upset that they made that decision? Then why are you upset at the whole competition? Why don't you just be upset that an athlete made a decision you disagree with? Are you upset that Michael Phelps gambles? I don't gamble. I know a lot of people whose lives have been ruined by gambling. No one says shit to Phelps about how he's promoting life-ruining, vices such as gambling. But we have a problem with somebody taking Adderall and Ozempic, so I say, okay, how about this? Let's remove drugs, performance enhancers from the enhanced games. Now let's talk about it. Why do you hate it? And then there's nothing. Right.
Crickets.
Now let's talk about, was it a success or a failure? Remove the enhancement argument. Now look at it as a swim meet. Why was it a failure? No one can give you an answer. Sure. It's like, well, I expected everybody to go a world record. Yeah, I watch baseball and expect everyone to hit a home run too.
Yeah, when people say that, it's like you need to be more educated on the topic before you start making their breaking one world record was totally fine. They were not going to go in there and have most of these guys who are out of their prime or haven't been swimming for a decade just because you can take an FDA approved enhancement
Correct.
you're not going to magically break a world record. It's the same argument that I get in with people about like Sun Yang, about like, oh, well, he was only that great because he took stuff. And it's like, no, 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 no. He was only like 1% more dominant because he took that stuff. If he didn't take this stuff, he would have still been the world record holder. He would have just been slightly slower. But people think it's like a magic pill.
Dude, you see how big Sun Yang was, and that dude had stamina for days. There's no chance.
Yeah.
Like, you know, guy was created in a laboratory.
Yeah.
Like, so it just felt like people were upset because it wasn't a USA swimming event, basically.
Correct.
Because it was outside of the norm. So I said, okay, if the enhanced games was a failure, they had millions of views, they had storylines, they had drama, they had an amazing venue, they had like great marketing, they had millions of dollars. People became, their lives changed overnight in these races. So we call that a failure. Okay. Let's look at another meet where one world record was also broken, the Fort Lauderdale Grand Prix, or Pro Series. They had Gretchen Walsh broke the 100 fly world record, great swim. Who else? Summer McIntosh was there, Katie Ledecky was there, Josh Leando, Caleb Dressel, Ilya. You had some of the top swimmers in the world going head to head in some serious, crazy battles, having some great swims. And nobody knew about it. Wasn't streamed. You know, I didn't even see it on ESPN that, hey, world record got broken. Nothing. Nobody won any prize money. Nobody became a millionaire. Is that what we're calling a success? Is that what we're calling a success?
That's what's funny when people are so stubborn, though. It's like, because they will say, well, yes, that was a success. And it's like, that's the problem. Like, how was that meet not streamed is the craziest thing to me. Like, I was talking to Drew Loy the other day. He's the guy on Instagram that, you know, does all the sick drop time edits and stuff like that. Yeah. How does USA Swimming not have a production team that they send to the big meets and to worlds and everything, to where when they have a big meet and all their stars are going to be there, that we are just not getting like the sickest footage promoting it, like the lighting, the everything? It's like, no, we're going to stream it on an iPhone. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I was about to say, you know, it's funny. They don't even need, I was about to say, they don't even need a production team. If they just had somebody with an iPhone to just watch, like, I feel like we're not even getting that. Like, because it's streamed through their USA Swimming app that crashes
all the
constantly.
time.
Awful.
Never works.
Awful.
Like, connect to YouTube or something. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen better streams from these guys on Twitch.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Drop a GoPro in the water. Like, how are the videos that I post doing lessons with kids of a higher quality than the stuff that I see underwater at most of these meets?
Right. It almost makes you wonder, like, is that a priority for USA Swimming? And if it's not, that's really sad, because, you know, somebody like Gretchen Walsh breaking a world record in a meet like that should be everywhere.
Yeah.
And
it was
wasn't.
nowhere.
And it was nowhere. So that's a failure to me. They failed Gretchen Walsh, and they failed all of those swimmers that were there.
Yeah. Well, and what was I going to say? I was really annoyed. Well, two things. So one, I just watched Australian trials. They put on a sick show. And like they get some great underwater footage, dude. The water's crystal clear. It's not cloudy. Like, amazing. And Titmus was there commentating, like really good analysis. Thorpe was there and stuff like that. And I watched, you know, USA Swimming and ASCA just announced this partnership, right? That in the swim world is like supposed to be such a big deal. And it's like, okay, well, what are you guys going to do? It's, oh, well, we're going to create these courses for coaches to watch so that we can give them better education and stuff like that. And so many of these people was on the Swim Coaches Exchange Facebook page. This is great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this kind of stuff pisses me off, because you know what you could do to make coaches better? Put out the underwater footage that you guys have at nationals. Let coaches be able to study swim technique instead of giving me a 10-second clip. I could only find one clip of Bria Larson swimming breaststroke underwater, and it was from a medley relay at the Olympics. And it's like, no, you guys don't really want to make coaches better. You want to say it because it sounds good. But if you really wanted to make coaches better, that's one of the first easiest things you could do is you would put out all the video that you had over the decades that all the national team coaches get of Phelps and of McIntosh and of Reagan Smith and of all these people, and you would let people study it, but you won't.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I bet if you were to message Bria Larson and be like, hey, could you send me some underwater footage? She probably would just send it to you.
Well, when I told her that, she was shocked. She was like, really? And I was like, Bria, it took me like 30 minutes to find this video so I could make this video of you. It was freaking insane.
Bria's cool, people. She's got a cool story too. I don't know if y'all ever had her on the show or not.
Yeah, yeah. So we had her on episode like 5 or 6, but unfortunately there was an audio issue, so we lost pretty much the entire episode. Like I was only able to save a few clips, but yeah, we're gonna bring her back on because it was such a good episode that we unfortunately lost.
Yeah, she's got a great story. I respect her. She and I keep in contact here and there. But here's a funny story about Aska that you just reminded me of. I applied to be the CEO at Aska back in 2020 when they were searching, and I got an interview.
That's good.
And I honestly don't know why I got an interview. Like, maybe I'm just selling myself short, but I think I surprised them in the interview with my answers and the ideas I had for Aska and why I was applying. And I think I caught them off guard, and maybe I was seriously considered for a little bit. Maybe I wasn't. I mean, you're going to have to forgive me. I don't really keep up with Aska anymore, but I remember they selected a woman CEO. I don't know if she's still the CEO there.
No idea.
But it was the reason I think I was actually seriously considered is because after they made the selection, they kind of called me and was like, hey, we really enjoyed your interview. Like, they actually gave me like we selected somebody else. It came down to blah, 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 where they could have easily just said like, thanks for applying, send, a little email or something. But they actually gave me a call and, had a conversation. It was
respect.
Who was leading the search party was that big coach from Nitro, Mike
Cole.
Mike
Kobler.
Is that yeah. Mike, yeah. Great dude.
Yep.
Great dude. So yeah, he gave me a call after they made the selection and gave me the news. But he was leading the interview, and it was with maybe it was with the board or whoever the selection committee was. But I was straight up. I was honest with them. I was like, you guys are known as a good old boys club and who are recycling the same old ideas, and you're losing membership, and you need some fresh young blood in there to really connect with the coaches and, reinvigorate what you guys should be. And you could see like, I wasn't telling them anything they didn't know, but I was giving it to them for real, So I think they respected that. So, hopefully they do better or to whatever they are doing.
I'm not a big Aska fan because like I went through all their stuff because I was going to get like my Aska like level 4, level 5 or whatever. And they were like, I sent in, I was like, all right, here's the swimmers that I've had. These are the meets they've gone to. These are the results, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, actually, to get to those levels, you have to pay to come to our training seminars in blah, blah, blah for like level 1, which is like basic stroke stuff. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, right. Why would I pay to go do that? Like, I have to pay for the flight. I have to pay for a hotel to go learn like fundamentals of swimming. Like, no, I think I'm good actually.
Yeah. And I mean, I have respect for you coaches because I don't think I would ever coach like a club team or high school or college. Really, I just prefer to do private lesson. Like, hey, I'll come to your pool, or we go to a pool, teach one person, and I'm gone. Like, I don't have to do any of this Aska stuff. I don't have to do any of this USA swimming stuff. It's just I don't do well with the red tape crap. Like I don't know what the teaching program is like at Aska. Who knows if I even agree with it or if I, so what am I paying? I'm paying for just the title or the certificate or whatever. Like I'm not going to be about that at all. So, I see them putting out content on their TikTok and whatnot, and I haven't seen anything that I enjoyed. Put it that way. Like they'll post some clips from coaches talking about, the same old shit that they were talking from 1960. And I'm like, oh, great. Hadn't heard that before.
Yeah.
Like, oh, your swimmers do 2100s. Oh, wow. That's brilliant.
Things like don't use parachutes until college because they'll never get better.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, actually, I'm curious now. I'm going to give you 3 guesses. The most
God.
famous swim coaches of all time. One of the 3 said the statement that I just said, which was, don't use resistance training until college because there's nothing left.
I hate that thought process.
Oh, you know who it is, man. You know.
I feel like if I say it, they're just going to call me a hater because
But it's not our words. It was his.
Don't tell me it's Bob Bowman.
Bob Bowman.
God, why do y'all set me up like this? See, people are going to think I hate Bob Bowman by the way y'all keep setting me up. And I don't. I just don't agree. I just don't agree with his training philosophies. And I feel like the swim community has elevated him to Jesus levels, which, I don't think I don't think anyone should be elevated to a Jesus level, first of all. But I think, anyway, let me stop because y'all going to just call me a hater.
No,
let me save you. Let me save you. Let's go back to the enhanced games because we got a little off topic.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think was funny that I'm seeing now, and again, this is just all swim coach cope that I hate. And like, I didn't grow up in the swim world. I was like baseball, football, basketball. So all of this stuff to me is so odd. It's so weird. So many of the people now are just like, oh, well, like, see, like they were just selling supplements and this is a whole scam. And now they're just trying to sell you a product. And it's like, yeah, first of all, why is that surprising to you? I knew that was coming from the very beginning. And second of all, like, yeah, they're trying to make money because they're actually trying to run a freaking business. And you have to make money to put out a good product. It's like USA Swimming should be putting out some kind of good product to make money off of. Like, I just think that's so funny.
Yeah. That was an interesting argument because like that was common knowledge going into the games that this was a supplement company. This was a marketing ploy to sell supplements from a supplement company.
Yep.
So when I saw I did see like some articles about basically reiterating what you were saying, like this was a scam and they're just trying to do this. And I was like, well, yeah. When you watch Red Bull high diving, what is Red Bull selling?
Dude, I'm drinking a Red Bull while I'm watching it. Like,
right. They're not doing that for the goodness of the athletes. They're trying to sell Red Bull. Like when you see Travis Pastrana jump out of an airplane, they're not, marketing aviation safety. Like it's Red Bull. So like I said, it feels like people are trying to find reasons to hate on it.
Yep. I remember, no, it's true. I remember going back to, let's say like 2013, definitely around that time frame. After the first time I went to ASCA, I remember coming back, and even as a super young coach at that time, I mean, maybe 23, and at Wildcat Aquatics, I was head coach at 24, maybe around that time, saying like, man, swimming is archaic, because I would go to these ASCA meetings and I was hungry to learn as much as I could. I really was. And I would go and sit in these 2-hour presentations and be like, man, I got nothing from this. And I was like ready to write, man. Like I'm there to learn. And I would leave, and then all the coaches would go get drunk and stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with hanging out, having some beers with your buddies. It's all good. Yeah. But going back to what you said about the Good Old Boy Network, that's what it was. And hopefully, they're doing some good initiatives. Like I know Peter from Bowls is working alongside them and really trying to push something different. But going back to Mike at Nitro, I met him in 2012. There was like the top 50 age group program coaches summit at Colorado Springs. And this was like my first big trip. I just got hired by Lakeside. And so I was super stoked, right? I meet him, and he was the first guy talking about looking at swimming as a business model. He didn't say that kids didn't matter. He said, obviously we're in the sport of passion and giving, but he was saying, okay, here's how we have 4 pools, and here's how we're funding all of this by looking at number of kids per lane, price points. And he was a very, very nice guy. And everyone ignored him. Like literally, I was the only guy sitting with him in these little coaches circles, because everyone else kept saying things like, Yeah, but swimming's a passion sport, and obviously it is, but they completely lost the whole point. Here's this guy that built this nitro program from scratch, literally from nothing, and they've got 4 pools, they're all paid for, it's self-funded, and I was the only coach willing to listen. And so that was just like, at that time showing me, okay, this sport has a lot to change, and the perspective on coaches really needs to grow. And I remember being in Kentucky at the House of Delegates, and Mike and I were talking about trying to bring the 100 IM into the state meet. And the reason it got voted down is because coaches said things like, well, the event is not hard enough. And this was 2012, 2013. And Mike and I are like, yeah, and that was, again, that's 14 years ago. We were saying, okay, let's make the sport a little bit more exciting, and maybe we have better IMers and kids doing different strokes. But they couldn't see past, the wall right in front of their face that said the 100 IM was too short.
I would have totally swam 100 IM in high school.
See,
Heck yeah.
exactly. I mean, we have it here, like it's everywhere here, which is really, really nice. So yeah, I think our sports does a long way to go. And I think when we were first trying to set up for this meeting, I said, one of the questions I was going to bring up was, why do coaches have such a hard time breaking outside of the box? It's almost like they have to have permission from the biggest coaches or the biggest names to think differently. But if that coach says something different, they jump on that bandwagon. So what is it about our sport? Because like track and field, I mean, my experience is it's not like that. I mean, all my textbooks are mostly track and field. I mean, I have some McGlisco and some of the standards, right? But all of my other textbooks where I learned about rate of force production and rep ranges and building, reflexive strength and tendon reflexive strength and all these capacities were not from swimming. They were from all the other sports. So like, what do you guys think is so confining about our sport? Like, why is it like this? I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? But like, what do you guys think?
I think it's two things. One is fear, and like the fear of change. Nobody wants to take that risk and try something quote unquote new or non-traditional, even though I we've gotten a lot of flack on our show because we talk about, race-based training, and we've had Cam McAvoy on the show who has gone over his style of training, which is pretty extreme, probably the most extreme example that we've seen today.
It's because of the aerobic base, Elvis. Just want to put that out there.
Why are you triggering me today? On this good Sunday, I'm trying to behave, and he's just over there poking the bear. Yeah, because I still see those comments like, you can't go fast later in life unless you have an aerobic base, and blah blah blah. I actually heard the greatest analogy of aerobic base from Mike DeBoer, like not while I was at Lakeside, but like when we reconnected after the fact, maybe like 2014, 2015. I actually had asked him about that. Like, well, what is the benefit of doing all this, of doing yardage? Why not just specialize? Oh, I loved his answer, and I'll probably butcher it. But basically what he said was, at the development age of kids, he wasn't talking about like age group elite, senior. He was talking about like development age. He said, you need to have yardage so they learn how to swim. He said it has nothing to do with aerobic at all. It has to do with repetition. He said think of a baby learning to walk. Like, in order for a baby to walk well, they have to walk a lot. Like we can walk without thinking about it. But when you watch a baby walk at first, they're thinking about every step they take, and they're balancing. So he was saying you need to have that repetition, put in those reps at that young development age, so you learn how to walk / swim. And then once you develop that, then you can specialize and learn proper technique, etc. Sort of like a baby learning how to run track. Yep. Like, once you learn how to run, then you can learn how to run properly and, all of that other stuff. But, swimming has equated that repetition with aerobic training instead of repetition learning, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
So that's how I see it. If I'm coaching a development. And I think that's why Lakeside had so much success, because now that I talk about it out loud, because our aerobic base training was actually repetition learning for setting up more of a technical base than an aerobic base. So, a lot of teams focus so much on the aerobic base, they lose the technical side of it. So you just have somebody swimming shitty for a long period of time. It's like, great. Like, they're inefficient, but they have endurance. Mm-hmm. Kind of, that makes sense. So I think people think of it the wrong way. They're thinking of the aerobic aspect instead of the learning repetition aspect. Huh.
Correct.
Yeah. Shout out to Mike.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first. Go ahead, Justin.
Okay. I was going to say that to give credit, that is actually something that I hear Bowman talk about, that I feel like a lot of people, they don't take from his talks. Like, they see the sets and they see the amount of volume and they just think energy system. But he does talk a lot about the boredom of repetition and how you just have to drill rep after rep after rep of good technique so that it gets embedded into their brain. And I think a lot of people miss over that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, if I'm training technique to, most of my private coaching is done between the ages of 11 and 17, the ones who are on the cusp of doing great things. When we're doing technique work, it's either slow motion, no interval, this is what we're working on. Mm-hmm. It's not all right, we're going to do 10 100s on this interval, do catch-up drill. What are you getting out of that? Yep. It needs to be it needs to be intentional. Have you ever watched track athletes work on drills? It's they work on one specific thing for a really long time, and each rep is super specific. Watch a track athlete work on starts. Oh my God, it's like a 2 hour long workout. Just how do I get out of this block faster? Oh, maybe I need to move my thing an inch this way. Maybe I need to keep my head down a little more. Each rep is so intentional, and we lose a lot of that in swimming when we just bury our head down and say, oh, we need to get more yardage. It's no, you need to be more intentional about what you're doing.
Yeah, it's true. And I think because when you talk about skill development, we spoke about this with Eric Anderson and previous guests too. Understanding what skill development means is typically a little bit beyond the average coach and what they and just in terms of an understanding of what that statement means. So if we say something like 20-25, let's say fly, and you're breaking down each individual segment, whether it's the breath, it's the second kick, it's throwing the hands forward, it's pressing forward versus down, that is the skill development and putting the whole stroke together. And that is also aerobic in and of itself. But because they can't see the context of the application, they just go straight to aerobic and they lose everything else.
Yeah. I also think there's a level of ego and bravado. I remember when I went to Kentucky, you still kind of see it today. If you couldn't swim a 200 freestyle, it was you're not a man. I was why? Why is that the measure of my masculinity? You know what I mean? It was oh, well, he can only swim 100. It's okay. And that's an event, right?
Right.
I don't need to swim anything else. It's no one goes to Usain Bolt and they're guy can't run a 400. Fuck that guy. What a pussy.
It's
what?
Yeah, it's true. And again, going back to the ASCA days, that's why I would have such a hard time in these hangout sessions, because it was just this, chest bumping of, oh, I had this kid do this crazy set. And maybe early on that was kind of cool, but pretty quick I realized I'm this doesn't feel right. It just didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like we're actually growing. It was more just about, okay, my kid can do this, instead of saying, okay, here's how I develop kids. Here's the long-term process, because that's the stuff we need, and not the, oh, I've got this kid that can do 40 100s on whatever 55.
Yeah. And I would even challenge coaches to look past the survivorship bias.
Yep.
If you're doing these high yardage programs and everyone's calling you successful, why are you only having 4 kids out of your 1,000 make it to D1? Yep. If your program is so great, why 4 out of 1,000? That's your hitting percentage.
Yep. Yeah, I
You
think
know,
one of the best examples too of like how far back the sport is the pushback that there was and still is of making the 50s an Olympic event. I mean, a lot of coaches have a passionately strong disagreement with that. And it's like, why? It's like the way that I look at it is like, especially if you add it in a high school swimming, like think about how many more kids you can bring into the sport or keep in the sport because they can do a 100 fly and a 50 fly. They don't have to do a 100 fly and also train for a 200 fly. But coaches are just like, that's not a real event and it's too short and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to see that. It's like, yes, I love when I go to a meet and I get to watch 6 heats of the mile. So exciting.
and here's the other thing though, like why who says that's too short? Like why is that an argument? Here's a controversial take for you. We should have 25s in swimming.
I was literally just going to say that.
Mm.
Yep.
And here's why. What is the fastest 25 meters you've seen?
What Cam go on that meter one? Was it like 9? I don't know, 9.3. I don't know.
Okay, so let's say 9.3, 9.4.
Yeah.
What's the world record in the 100 meters in track?
Yeah. What, 9.5, 9.6? Yeah.
So
It's exciting.
that's the most exciting race in the world, right?
Yeah.
So why would we not have the equivalent in swimming?
Because people don't want to see that, Dex. They want to see the distance races.
Yes.
Why would they not want to see that? Come on.
It's
You're
funny.
triggering me again.
Well, here's another one that just popped into my head. I have never once heard an argument from a coach that open water swimming is not a real event because it's a longer distance. I've never seen coaches have a passionate take that like, oh, why are we doing all this open water stuff? Like that's not real swimming. But you had mentioned a 50, that's not real swimming.
That's a good take. That's interesting. I mean,
Yeah, and
again,
so
it goes down to the bravado thing, like more is better.
and so let's go back to Lakeside really quick. So again, before I went there, I'd had really probably the old school education on like
Yeah.
what it was to develop a swimmer, et cetera. And I get there, and this was the first time I ever heard Mike and Nate speak about a speed-based approach first. And it took me a little while to understand this because, again, if you've heard all the old school thinking, you really have to kind of break through that barrier before you can truly understand. And so they would speak about, okay, if you've got a kid who has the technical capacity and they can do it at speed for 50s first, and then they can stretch it to the 100, then you have a really high quality event for the 50 and the 100. Then as they get older, we can kind of swim up into that event because they have the technical capacity and the speed behind it. But unfortunately, the most swimming looks at it the opposite way. It's the aerobic first and the survivorship, as you said. And then there's still this fear of like, okay, if you let kids sprint, that they're not going to want to do anything else later in life, which just isn't true because kids will start to psychologically shift in their own natural way. Like, okay, maybe I don't like the 100. I like the mile. This is better for me. But they still have speed. And so when I speak about this, it's really hard for a lot of coaches to grasp because it requires flipping the foundation on its head and saying skills and speed first, increase distance over time. And I look back just because I was curious. Justin and I have been talking about looking at the data from USA Swimming and stuff like this that's coming out that wasn't available before. And so I was curious, like I look back at my program in Charleston and I look back at Lakeside and it was like, 2011. And at that time we had, I don't know, 8 girls going 28 mid in the 50 free. And again, 2011, 209, 210, 212. And there was a lot of girls that were 11, 12 between, let's say 214, 209 even. And it was just a speed-based approach. We never in practice did really anything over maybe a 200. Like my first year, we did some classic stuff, but over time, it just became more 50s, more 75s, more 100s. And so that approach has carried with me all the way up until this day, and it works 100% of the time. Speed, skills, increase distance over time. So
Yeah. Once I learned that, I realized I was like, wait, duh, that makes sense, And then when we put it into action, I was like, yeah, why weren't we doing this all along?
exactly.
And we did kind of do it maybe accidentally or on purpose with Jamie, because when Sean got recruited to train at Great Britain, they were kind of on the cutting edge of sports science. They had hired sports scientists to come in to see what British swimming as an organization was doing wrong and how they can, be better. I mean, you've seen what happened with British swimming after that. You get Ben Proud and the rest of those guys coming out of it. So whatever they did worked. But they came out with basically breaking down like the 50 by 5 meter increments and what pace you need to hit to go a world record. And you see a lot of that style training and Cam's training. Yeah. So that's where a lot of that stuff originated. So we kind of brought that into the Kentucky training, and that's when I started seeing a lot of my success. So basically the dumbed down premise version of it is, instead of building an aerobic base and then trying to get fast after that when you're in shape, like you say, you flip it upside down. The key is to get as fast as possible and then train your body to hold that fast.
Correct.
That speed. So let's say you train yourself to go 9.5 in the 25. Okay. So maybe I'm a 10.5 swimmer now. I need to just do drop dead speed and power to get myself to 9.5 in the 25. Now that I've hit 9.5, I need to train my body to hit 9.5 as long as possible. That makes sense. Whether that means I'm repeating it on short rest, or I'm extending instead of doing a 25, I'm doing a 35, but I'm hitting that same speed at the 35. And so you really don't need the aerobic training. Like, that is your aerobic training. The extending the endurance of the speed is what you need. And people think that only works for 50 or whatever. Like, that same application can be put into a 200, can be put into a 400, a 500. You want to be fast, and then you want to learn how to hold that fast as long as possible.
So Sweetenham used to use this phrase called double ups, and it was really, really good for the 200 guys, the 400, whatever event. So the same premise was there, that you would do a set of 50s, like whatever your starting point, let's say 10 50s, and you're going to hold the same time, the same stroke count, the same breathing pattern, the same kick count, everything exactly the same. And then the next block, you would maybe add 2 100s, and you would have to double up the time and the distance, and it has to be the exact same. So whatever, if you hold 30 on the 1050s, now you need to hold 650s on 30, 4 100s on a 1 minute. And then over time, you increase the 100s, and then you start to branch out to 150s. But again, the premise continues that whatever your original 50 speed is, you hold it for the 100 and the 150. And this was really probably our secret sauce for the Flyers that we had in Charleston, because we got to the point where we were able to hold 10 150s actually for like my fly girls that were really in the 200 4IM, consistently the same right into taper throughout the whole season. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter what the distance is. It's the ability to hold continual speed for longer, and therefore increasing the fitness without worrying about said aerobic base, because the skill development's there. The heart rate goes with it. It doesn't have to be just that.
Exactly. So in theory, so say Cam went 20.8. Right. So in order for him to be successful at the 100, he now has to adapt his body to hold 20.8 pace as long as possible.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really believe in like back end training, because you're basically training yourself to go slow. Because you're like, okay, I'm going to let's do this 50 at back end speed. Well, my back end speed is slower than my front end speed. So now I'm training to go a slower pace, where you should be training to go front end speed a little longer, So if he's going 20.8 in the 50, he should train himself to go 20.8 pace for a 55. And then once he's able to do that, then a 60, 65. And then all of a sudden, he's going 45 in the 100, because he's holding that 20.8 pace the whole time.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
It's hard with swimming because breathing is a limiting factor.
Correct. Exactly. So unless you train for it.
Sure. Yeah. Do some of those gator breathings. He'll be good to go.
Hey.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you trained yourself to do 100 all out sprint at 50 pace, no breath?
Damn.
Just go like 40, just go like 41, 42, something crazy, But that's how you need to look at it. That's how you need to look at training. You can't look at it as, oh, I'm going to pace myself going out and then try to come back hard. No, this is a sprint. You gotta train yourself to hit sprint and hold it as long as you can. It's actually, even if you listen to like sports scientists talk about track and field, they always say like in the 100, it's not who's the fastest, it's who's slowing down the slowest.
Least, yes.
The
Correct.
least, yeah.
Correct.
So I tried to apply that to my swimming. If you looked at me and my buddy Eric McGinnis, he would be lightning fast off of the first 25, but my second 25 would always be faster than his second 25, but he would always beat me because he was so much faster in the front. And I said, man, if I just trained how to be fast out the gates, like I would beat him. So really front end speed is where it's at, because you're gonna come back no matter what.
Yeah, I feel like swimming is kind of accidentally falling into that in a few events, just with how fast you've seen the 200 free and the 500 free get now.
Yeah.
Like the 5 free really is a long sprint event. And so I think that we are kind of accidentally falling into that, but people don't recognize it.
Yeah, I think people are just learning that in order to, hit some of these world record times, you have to go out fast.
Yeah.
By the time this comes out, it'll be out, but we interviewed Brett Hawk last night for our podcast. And we were talking about 2 nights ago, Dax and I were getting in an argument of what's it going to take for a woman swimmer to go 50 point or break 50 point in the 100 free. And we went back and forth arguing, and I couldn't really put into words what I was trying to say. So we pitched the question to Brett, and he said it's going to take them going out in 24/5. They can't be scared. They have to go out fast. And I said, exactly. Fly. You got to fly and die. You got to go. You have to go out fast. And a lot of people aren't doing that yet.
Exactly. Yet.
They will. How you doing on time, Elvis? Chilling? All right. Because I love your and Dax. I have a couple questions for you, but I love your and Dax takes on Night Swim podcast, just because, I think so much of the swim world is very like PC, doesn't want to talk about a lot of things, keep things under the rug, good old boys club, blah, blah, blah. And you guys just tell it like it is. And it's really refreshing. It's really refreshing. And that's, I think, why you guys have had so much success. And even for as much shit as people talk, either to you guys in the comments or about you guys, I think deep down, a lot of them agree with a lot of what you're saying, or they're going to come around to it. But here's two thoughts I had for you. One, they kind of both go back to the enhanced games and basically like growing the sport on one of them. So like the first thing that I thought of when I watched the enhanced games was I was like, how smart to take swim, track, and weightlifting, 3 Olympic sports that track does pretty well, but Olympic sports that can struggle to bring in revenue, and you put them all together in one venue and you get cross exposure, right? And I was like, that is something that USA Swimming should take away from the enhanced games, is like, why can't we get with track and field? Why can't we get with gymnastics? So that it's like, I'm going to watch someone try to break a world record in the 100-meter dash, and then I'm going to watch them try to break a world record in the 50 free, and then I'm going to watch them try to do a triple, quadruple backflip handspring or something like that. It's like, dude, that's exciting, because then you can literally just go like, because that's the hard thing with watching swim, even for me, there's so much dead time. We have to get everyone behind the blocks and we have to tell them to line up perfectly. And it's like, okay, quiet now, take your blah, blah, blah. It takes forever. So it's like, boom, have a 50 free go, boom, have a heat 100-meter dash go, boom, have a 100 free go, boom, have this go, and just back to back to back to back.
Yeah, that was something that Dax pointed out, and I was like, man, I had never even thought of that. I think that would be very successful, especially at like the lower level, like high school, college. Because I think once you get to like the bigger meets, like the U.S. Nationals or Olympic trials, those meets could probably hold their own, with enough excitement. I mean, they'll need to retool the way the meet itself runs. But I think once you get to that highest level, you have enough, like you could fill a stadium. You have enough to pack a spot. When you think about it, though, track and field already does that, because you have somebody running the 200 on this side, and then you have a guy throwing the hammer in the middle, and then you got the people doing the high jump over there in the corner. So you already have,
that's a good point,
that going on in track and field, and that's why they're able to fill up a large stadium consistently. Because if you've ever been to a track meet on that large of a scale, like an Olympics or World Championships, or even just a giant, Diamond League meet or something like that, you'll notice, like, by the high jump area, there's a faction of the crowd who came there just to watch high jump. Mm-hmm. Those are high jump fans. Mm-hmm. Then you shift over a little bit to where, you can see the hammer throwers. Those are hammer thrower fans. Then you shift over to the track and field side. Those are, or the long jump side. Those are long jump fans. You got like 7 different groups across the whole stadium, Now, of course, everybody may be interested in the 100 and the 200 because of the big personalities and the speed and all that. So, that may, the rest of the field may slow down to watch that a little bit. But 90% of it, everyone's watching what they came to watch, just all under one roof. And that could easily, be a model for all these non-revenue sports to get together. If I'm sitting, I'll tell you what, if I'm at a swim meet and the mile comes on and we're like, let's walk over to the other side. Let's watch javelin. I'm not watching this. Like I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like, I would watch something else. I think it's a very interesting concept that hopefully somebody tries it outside of the enhanced games, but who knows?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, and that's something that people just like, everyone knows, but they don't want to admit. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't like watching 15 heats of the mile. I don't. If it's like the A final at NC2As, or if it's the Olympics and it's a good race and stuff like that, yeah, absolutely, I'll watch that one. But nobody's watching the heats of miles like at the Olympics or anything like that. It's just like, it takes too long, dude. And they're cutting a commercial breaks in it. Like, oh man, it's, yeah.
Remember when Vine was like a big thing?
Yep. Mm-hmm. The old TikTok.
Yeah. The first version of TikTok. So I don't remember which World Championships it was. I think it was 2015 in Russia. I was in the stands right before the 1500 or whatever. And did the women swim the 1500 by then? Whatever. It was the longest race the women were swimming, and Katie Ledecky was in it. So now this is a big race, right? Katie Ledecky breaking records like crazy at this time. I was like, let me see what happens when they tee up this race. So I put on my video. I swear to God, as soon as they announced what race was next, everyone was like, popcorn, beer, anyone need anything? Like, I'm going to the car.
Yeah.
Like, it was like droves of people just stood up and started walking out. And I took a video of it and I just captioned it. Like, this is what people think of this race. Like, it's so, like, you had the best swimmer in the world about to swim it, and still swimmers and swim fans were just getting up and leaving. It was like intermission, like, oh, bathroom break time. Yeah. I was like, I felt kind of bad about it, to be honest.
It is what it is. Yeah, it's a tough one. There's people that like to watch people run marathons, right? But would the majority of people rather watch a marathon that's 3 hours, or would they rather watch a 100-meter dash? It's just like, right. It is what it is.
And I guess what's hard for me is, like, you see that happening, you see half the stands empty out, but then you'll see like the 50 fly or the 50 breast, and people are like standing on the edge of their seat to watch. And I'm like, why would you not want more of that? Yeah. Where's the argument? Yeah. That's the answer to the argument right there. Yeah. They're showing you what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you look at the Olympic tickets, what's sold out. Like, all the distance races are still available.
Yeah. Mm. Yep.
All the 50s already sold out.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting. Right. you know, and especially like Ledecky's such a hard one because she is just like the goat, but she's
Mhm.
always so far ahead that it's like it's not that fun to watch. It's like
Yeah.
she's lapping everyone, you know she's not going to break a world record at whatever the meet is. She doesn't have, you know, a Titmus or a Pallister next to her to race, and you're like, okay, she's going to lap these people 14 times and swim a top 20 time in history. Like, you know, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think over time that's going to change. Like
That was going to be my question.
I think people are catching up. You know, the
Yeah.
rest of the world. I think she'll still be dominant more in the longer races, but I mean, you see it already. Like, you know, Summer McIntoshes, some of the Australian girls. Like people are. It's. I mean, hey, like you said, Art Titmus, you know, was already on her ass. So
Yeah.
it's. But again, that's exciting. I
Yeah.
want to see that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So here's another one that I've been waiting to ask you, either you or Dax, this question, because this is a
Okay.
take that I have that's
Okay.
very unpopular, but I think that you guys will agree with me. So I'm huge on international swimming. I love international swimming, Australian. So a couple things that tie into it. One, whenever I post a video about like Melatite or Sunyang or anything like that, I get so much shit because it's like, why would you even bother looking at the technique of these swimmers? Like they just swam fast because they were doped up, blah, blah, blah. That's always what I get. Okay. And dude, I get some people put it in comments, but I get messages like, why are you promoting this swimmer? Blah, blah. It's like, dude, I'm looking at technique. Okay. But so Russian championships, whatever they call it in Russia, just happened. And so I'm posting stuff because, dude, that guy, Igor
Yeah.
Kornev,
Cornet.
right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Dude, 50 free, 100 free. Man, dude, I'm posting stuff like this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. I love it. And people are just hating. They're like, oh, well, they're Russian, so they're doping, or oh, the pool is short, blah, blah, blah. And it's something that I see all of the time with swimming, which is if a Chinese swimmer or a Russian swimmer swims well, oh, well, they're doping. But if it's an American swimmer, you will never hear that. And it is so crazy to me, again, because I come from outside of swimming. I'm sorry, but at the pro level, a lot of people dope, and it's not just non Americans. I hate to break it to you. There's a gajillion Americans across all of sports that have been caught for doping. Like if you watch the movie Icarus and you see how these are just like system wide things that are built into sport. And so it's like, yeah, I get that swimming hasn't had like USA swimming hasn't had some big scandal on anything, but I just think it's like such like I just really don't like the take that like, oh, well, USA swimming is so pure, which I'm not saying that it's not, but then you're going to look at other countries and be like, oh, well, they're doping. Like I hate that.
I hate it too. I try to give some grace where they're like, well, XYZ country has had a history of a state sponsored doping program or they've been caught with this before. So I'm like, okay, now so has the USA. You know, maybe there hasn't been a big swimming scandal, but there have been many USA Olympic scandals of, you know, systematic doping, etc. But I would almost say they take it a step, not almost say, I'll say they take it a step further in swimming. Not only do they not believe that swimmers dope or they think that swimming is the almighty clean sport for the USA, but when an American swimmer gets caught doping, they actively defend the doper.
Yes, they didn't know. They didn't know. But if it's
Right, I
Shayna
just wrote
Jack
this.
in Australia, she's a cheater.
Right.
Yes.
So I found that hilarious. I remember when Jessica Hardy got popped for clenbuterol. It was like an anabolic steroid, and her excuse was that her supplement was tainted. The supplement company Advocare, that was big back then.
Yep.
Like everybody was on Advocare. It was good stuff. Stuff was super clean, double blind tested. Like the company even came out, tested the product, showed the batch. Like, why is only her one bottle out of these millions of thousands of bottles tainted? You know, so the company went above and beyond to, you know, because they were running the game at that point. You know, every college athlete was on Advocare back then. So the fact that one person who made the Olympics tested positive was already suspicious.
Hmm.
But they defend They defended Jessica Hardy to the death, to the point that they even like overturned the decision and gave her the lightest sentence possible. And then now she gave her a full victory lap on top of it. She was a hero, basically. She was the victim of a tainted supplement and became a hero. Then you look at Cesar Cielo, who had pretty much the same excuse. His he tested positive for, I think it's called furosemide. Wow, surprised I remember that.
Yeah.
It was, but it was a diuretic, so helps you lose water weight or whatever. And he claimed it was from like an over-the-counter medicine, which that is in over-the-counter medicines in Brazil. Like he pointed to the exact medication and all that. Whether he was, so it can be used as a masking agent. That's why it's banned. So he got popped for it, and I think maybe another one or two Brazilians got popped for the exact same thing, who were all using whatever the supplement was, whether it be like their version of Sudafed or whatever. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But he was a villain, you know? He was a villain in the U.S. I'm like, wait a minute. How are you all saying he's a villain, but then Jessica Hardy is a hero when they both have similar stories? And hers was an actual anabolic steroid, where his was, just a supposed masking agent, So he also ended up with a, lighter ban, which I think is kind of a World Aquatics issue, where when you're from a bigger country, a more powerful country, or you're a faster swimmer, you're going to get away with murder.
Yeah.
Versus, my countryman, Joanna Evans, she got handed a 4-year ban for using an Italian version of Neosporin that a doctor cleared for her to use. She like scraped her knee at like an ISL meet or some international meet. And it was like the tube was basically like red, white, and green. But the one that would have been legal was like green, red, and white.
Mm.
So, she had it cleared from the trainer. She used it like once or twice. And then I guess someone called her and was like, hey, by the way, like the one you're using is not approved. Like throw it away or stop using it. She's like, oh, well, shit. And then maybe like 2 days later, USADA showed up or whatever showed up, and then she got popped for that. Yeah. She had all the facts, showed what it was, everything, and they basically use the smaller countries as an example, and then they let the bigger countries go free. So they basically told her, if you admit that you took this willingly and whatever, we'll reduce it to a 3-year ban. Otherwise, you're banned for 4 years. She's like, why would I admit that?
Yeah,
it's not true. So she fought it. No dice. So she's finally like, her ban has just recently been lifted. But I mean, this is 4 years wasted, and you're fighting that in court. You're spending money like you already don't have because you're a swimmer, and it's just so they can make an example to say we come out strong against doping. It's like, and that's the example you chose. It's just bullshit. And then, even in our conversation with Brett Hawk last night, he was saying, he's like, I don't like the term. I asked him if they were gonna bring in any in the next enhanced games, will they still have clean athletes versus enhanced athletes? And he said, I don't like the word clean, because you look at the traditional Olympics and there's exemptions all over the place for people to use stuff. He said, you got people on like 9, 10, 11, 12 exemptions.
Yep.
Like, what possible 12 medications do you need that you need that many exemptions to perform? It's like, that's insane.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some transparency of like, what are you exempting and why? And then we can have that conversation.
Well, that's a funny one too, that people would bring up that argument that I was like, okay, you haven't really like looked into the enhanced games, is like, they think these people were going and getting like bodybuilding steroids down in Mexico. And it's like, no. They could only use FDA approved substances. So they couldn't even use like all the different peptides and stuff like that. And it's like, these are exactly a lot of the same things that you can get medical exemptions for in the Olympics. And it's like, I don't think that people realize that.
Right. So the difference between the enhanced games and the Olympics is that a medical exemption, a doctor's note, like exactly the same, which is crazy to think of.
Yeah.
Because you see the times they were swimming and it's like, wow, this guy was 40 years old and he came back from a 10-year, hiatus and went a best time or close to the world record or this and that. And then you start thinking of like, do I know any other 40-year-olds that came back to the regular Olympics and went best times or came from wonder what they were doing? It almost makes you start asking questions. You're like, what exemptions did they have and what were they using?
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing too is like, it's not like they were, I guess you could, but it's not like they were bringing in a bunch of 18-year-olds to put on this stuff. I mean, like, first of all, I believe adults should be able to do what adults want to do if it's not harming anyone else. So if Cody Miller wants to take testosterone and he gets it prescribed by a doctor, by all means do it. For one, it's very naive because it's like, have you guys noticed in the world in general that like, what do they call it? Like rejuvenation or I don't know, just aging better, right? That's a huge priority now. You see these clinics popping up all over the place because it's like, yeah, it's no secret that as you get older, like take guys, for example, testosterone plummets. And especially, not to go on like too long of a thing about it, but it's like, I think it's something that like 40-year-old men now have the testosterone of like 80-year-old men 40 years ago because of how bad diet is, because of all the microplastic stuff, because of all just like this random stuff. Like, yeah, testosterone gets low super quick. And so it's like, yeah, so what if some 40-year-old guy wants to get on testosterone, get his levels back into a normal range so that he's not low and live a good life? Like, I don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah, they get loaded up on that and then they join master swimming. That's what they do.
Yeah. So true.
And then go lifetime bests.
Yeah, right.
And then go PBs. All right, so I got one more question, and then it's almost 10:30 on my end. But if you guys want to keep going after, feel free. So this actually kind of blends in or leads in pretty well. How do you see the future of the NCAA? I mean, we've got NIL money. I mean, it's just the Wild West. And then I just saw we reposted something that Swim Swam did on Cal Poly. Their program got the axe, and then they bring in a $45 million renovation to the football stadium. Now, with that being said, I think I read a statistic that says something like one game or maybe half the season, I can't remember, funds all of the other programs within Cal Poly. So, yeah, there's just a lot happening. And, me not being stateside, I don't get all the details, but the big things are right up front. So I don't know. How do you see the future of the NCAA, NIL? Yeah, it's just a big show at this point.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not like super knowledgeable on like NIL and the effects of NIL on college swimming per se. I think making money off of your name, image, and likeness is a good thing, period.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sit right with me that somebody can use my image, my name, my likeness, and they can make money off of it, but I can't.
Yep.
That just common sense, that's not right, So I don't understand the argument against that when they say, well, they're amateur athlete, blah, blah. Okay, then no one should sell my image and likeness. Then
Correct.
if I can't do it, then nobody should be able to do it. Right. So that's where my feeling stands there. I feel like it's going to affect, the major sports such as football and basketball, where people are literally handing these kids millions of dollars to come and go to their school. No one's really doing that in swimming.
No.
I mean, maybe there's a little bit of NIL money there from, the coaching budget side of it, where it's like, okay, you give you a full ride plus, $1,000 a month or something. And I probably need to dive into it more to really know what's going on. I have heard of, some swimmers getting paid to transfer to certain places or to enter, go to certain schools. But obviously it's not on like the level of football money and basketball money, and it never will be.
Yeah.
Even if you had like a Michael Phelps coming out of high school, you probably still wouldn't see that level of, I go back and forth with it because the business side of me says, money talks. Like if I have to cut X amount of dollars in order for us to fund this football stadium, a non-revenue sport is going to be on the chopping block. That's just business 101.
Yep.
As a swimmer, if I'm on the chopping block, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to have the same cries that these other teams have had, like fight for swimming and yada yada. So I guess I'm kind of hypocritical on that, where I see both sides. But swimming also doesn't do itself any favors. We've made no effort to bring revenue into the sport. We've just accepted that we are a non-revenue sport. That's just how it's going to be. Like you said, yeah, the 1500's boring, but so be it. That's what we do.
Yep.
Yep.
The 100 IM is too short. We're not going to do that. Yeah, it's exciting, but that's not what we do. Okay, so when you get cut, you can't complain.
Yeah.
We brought it on ourselves. So if you want to save yourself, you have to do something different than what we're doing now.
Yep.
So,
but they don't want to, and then they want to complain about getting cut.
Exactly. You can't sit there and ask for change, but don't change.
Yeah, I got into an argument with a pretty prominent coach in USA swimming a couple months back, just because I personally think swimming is in some real trouble. Because if you look at the way that America is set up and we produce Olympians, it all comes out of NC2As for the most part. And what people don't understand, because his argument was, well, they're just going to move to pro teams like Bowman does with Texas. And I was like, you're actually proving my point for me, because my point is that Bowman can't do that without Texas football. Getting that $500K salary, having these great facilities. The only reason he is able to do that is the NC2As. And if you look at any program that's a pro group that has tried to do it outside of a college program, Virginia has a good pro group, IU has a good pro group, Texas, obviously, ASU for sure. All the ones that have tried to do it outside of the NC2As, except Aquatic Sports Performance, Sean is doing really good with that. And I think his model could be a future model. They failed miserably. And so swimming is in some real trouble if they don't figure out, one, a way to make more revenue, two, to make the sport more exciting, or three, how are we going to produce Olympians with the way that college sports are going, which is like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I'm not too familiar with the aquatic sports performance model, so I would really be interested to see how they do it. Is there a club team attached to it, or is it the strength training that's attached to it?
So what Sean has done a really good job at, and I know Dax has talked about this a lot too, with how swimmers need to have the ball a little bit more in their court. And I think you guys talked to Michael Andrew about it, about how swimmers need to get their name out there more. So basically what Sean has done is he has a huge following, Aquatic Sports Performance, right? So all the pro swimmers train there with them. And then they have all these connections to all these club teams. And so all the pro swimmers that he works with, they market themselves well. They run clinics all the time. They do private lessons. They do start and turns. Some of them write strength and conditioning programs. And they do all of these different things to make money within the swim world so that they're able to train as pros, but still make a living.
Yeah. So I think that's great. And I am not an ASP hater. I big respect for Sean, and he and I have had conversations of going on each other's shows. So hopefully that happens in the future. But I have talked about this on the podcast before, where my concern is pro groups have, well, I'll talk about two concerns. One is the cyclical nature of pro groups. Pro groups spring up leading into the Olympics pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Think of like Team Elite, think of Club Wolverine, Elite, think of Race Club, like countless pro groups, pop up 2.5 years before the Olympics. You get a good group of guys and gals who are, either most likely going to make the Olympics or definitely going to make the Olympics. And they're training together, putting out good content. Everything's great. They're attracting more. And then after the Olympics is where, what now? Okay, maybe I didn't make the Olympics. Now it's time for me to retire, or I'm going to go, I need a change. I'm leaving. So it seems like, and I'm just going off of historical pro groups, after an Olympics, a lot of them struggle to stay a pro group because it's like graduating a senior class without having incoming freshmen. It's there's nobody left, and the pro group just kind of fades into obscurity. And I don't wish that on ASP, but it is a concern that I've seen with pro groups in general. Like after an Olympics, and because a lot of people, that may be their last shot at an Olympics, or I mean. So maybe this model will change that, where they're like, hey, I'm actually making a decent living, so I could try for another Olympics and just do this. Who knows? Time will tell, but that's a big concern of mine, is what happens after the Olympics. The second thing is, you mentioned that they market themselves to local clubs, so they're basically working to get their keep, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you doing a clinic takes a lot of energy out of you. Yeah. It's hard to do that and train. So you don't see NBA players working a shift throughout the week.
I just wrote that.
Right. You don't see other pro groups doing that. So while that model helps, it's like a really painful Band-Aid to the problem. Like if you're going to be a pro athlete, you need to be like a pro league pro athlete. And that's kind of what the enhanced games did. They're like, okay, come train with us. We're going to take care of everything. No expenses is coming out of your pocket. And we're putting money in your bank account as a salary to do whatever you want with it. So you have nothing to worry about. You're not stressing about bills. You're not stressing about, got to do this clinic, got to run to this private lesson, got to do this. All you're focused on is winning. And I mean, they showed everyone pretty much went best times. So it's like the model, the fix of the problem in the model is the problem itself.
Yeah. So as you were chatting there, sorry, Elvis, I wrote down, last week I interviewed Ukrainian Olympian, and she talked about the model within Ukraine. And so believe it or not, and there's actually some smaller countries that follow the same model. The club system doesn't exist. Obviously in the US, we have the collegiate system. We've got middle school, we've got high school, we've got summer league. So it's a completely different boat. But there they have specific national training centers to where there's a head coach of the national training center who gets a set salary. The athletes can go and live there for free. They have physio, they have training, they have nutrition, they have everything they need, everything. And yet we look stateside and it's every man for himself. And so a couple of months ago, Justin and I were talking about, why can't there be a national center? Maybe there's a couple, maybe regional. You could go West Coast, East, Mid, whatever. Why aren't there coaches making set salaries, athletes making set salaries to go be just athletes, especially within the USA infrastructure? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I would say it comes down to probably personalization. Like if you told me, hey, you can go to the training center and train for free and everything, but your coach is Bob Bowman, I'd be like, fuck.
Well, then maybe you pick, right? Yeah, I understand. Like, by the way, we did not set that one up. That was all you, bro.
Sorry. But you know what I mean? Like maybe I want to work with my coach. I want to be, yeah. And you see a little bit of that. You actually see a little bit of that in the NBA too. Like I know at Kentucky, we have a lot of NBA guys who would come to the college campus and train at Kentucky in the off season, and they would bring in their own personal coaches. Yep. Like, Doc Rivers wasn't coming with, the NBA player. They would have their own personal drill coaches or shooting coaches that they worked with on the side. Just the head coach was the head coach at the game. So I almost feel like swimming, like if swimming had NBA money, it would probably follow that model too. Kind of like the ISL. Like they all kind of had their own coaches that they trained with, but when it was race time, we all train under this one coach or race under this one coach. Problem is swimming doesn't have that type of money yet at this time. So you kind of get what you get.
Yeah. So then what do you think are the, So, okay. So that's like big picture, right? The problem's the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Then like, where do you start? Like,
exactly.
Where do you start so that, not right away, but what do you think Elvis in like 5 years could put, because it's going to have to start at the local level, right? It's not just going to be a top down thing. What can what should people start trying to do now, or what would you like to see done now, so that in 5 years it's like, okay, we can take the next step where maybe swimming is generating some revenue and there is some, obviously not NBA money, but there is some money in swimming, so that sometime in the future they would ever be able to do something like that.
You gotta, I mean, it comes down to money. You have to bring eyeballs on the sport outside of once every 4 years. Like there needs to be, like track and field has the Diamond League. People flocked. I had a cousin who was world champion in high jump, and he would get like, it was years after he had won that medal, and he was still getting like 10, 20, 30 grand just to show up, appearance fees to the meet
Yeah.
for high jump.
Yeah.
For high jump. I can't tell you. Have you ever turned on the TV and watched high jump?
At the Olympics.
Okay. But have you seeked out a high jump event to watch?
It happened to be on next.
So where is that 30 grand coming from to pay somebody to show? And he's not the only one getting appearance fees.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, Usain Bolt's appearance fee was like 200, 250K at, probably around the height. Right. Exactly. So the fact that you have Gretchen Walsh going to Fort Lauderdale for free.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Is in absolute insanity. I would, and if I go to a meet and I hear you're streaming it, I'm not showing up unless I'm getting paid. Yeah. If I'm Gretchen Walsh.
Well, see, that's good because they weren't streaming it, so therefore she didn't
exactly
get paid.
Yeah, but then even then I was like, I wouldn't show up. Like, why am I? I'm flying all this way to spend my money to break a world record and bring attention to your pool for free?
Yeah.
Hell no, absolutely not.
I loved China offering for what was at the China Open, the appearance fees. Yep. And that's something that me and Avery had talked about before, that like when you do the TYR Pro Series, for example, it is so frustrating as a swim fan that the psych sheet comes out. You're like, oh my God, this race is going to be great. Half the pro swimmers scratch because they either didn't want to go or they couldn't afford to go or whatever the reason is. It's like USA Swimming should pay appearance fees at least like a couple times a year, to where you are making sure that you are getting all the best swimmers together. You're going to put on a production, you're going to stream it, you're going to make it huge. It's going to be in their contract that like they can't pull out of races, like they have to race everything, they have to do media appearance after. Like that's what I think. Yeah, I fully agree with that. And it can be done. Like if you have the right production, you have the right, like kids want to come and see, their swimmers. Like you don't think a family is going to pay 20, 30, $50 for a ticket to go see Katie Ledecky and then get an autograph from her afterwards? Yeah. Like, and you're telling me you can't pay for her flight, room and board and give her $5,000 for that? Yeah. Like, come on, man. You're pulling in like, it's greedy. That's what it is. And I got to blame the swimmers too, because they allow it to happen. If these top swimmers say we're not going to meets without appearance fees, it would change overnight. Overnight, it would change.
So I was just curious while you guys were chatting, and this is straight from ChatGPT, but it links to USA Swimming directly. So I was curious as to, my question was, what is the operating budget for USA Swimming, and reference the most annual report, so 2025. So national team programs, 10.3 million, sport development, 7.5, event operations, 4.5, commercial marketing, 5. And going back to operating revenue, 39.7 million, operating expenses, 39.6. So the money's there.
I would love to see what they're spending that marketing on, because I haven't seen it.
I know, because I look on Instagram and I see this, here's a good drill for your breaststrokers as age groupers, and to do breaststroke pull with a buoy. That was a terrible demonstration, but that's for a whole nother day. So yeah, I mean, again, the money's there. And that's the biggest question is, where is it going? If we can't fund athletes when we have 10.3 million sitting in the bank, and obviously there's a lot with that statement, it's going somewhere.
Would you say that marketing budget was 5 point what million?
1 sec. 5.1, event ops 4.5, sport development 7.5, national team 10.3.
See, event operations, what event are they putting on? I mean, the trials every 4 years, that's it.
Yep. And what's
I,
interesting is actually that we are roughly on par with USA Track and Field. So it says roughly 40 to 50 million range in recent years. So essentially, we're like on the same playing field as USA Track and Field.
yeah, and you only see the big track guys go to the meets that they absolutely have to, like trials and
Yep.
nationals. You don't see them at those
Let me see.
little any meet they go to, they're getting an appearance fee.
Okay, I'm going to
Otherwise,
ask athlete pay.
I would take the money from that marketing budget and give it to the hell 1 million of it. You know how many appearance fees you can get for that?
Oh yeah. Well, that is your marketing, right? And it's also like
Right.
and I will keep going back to this because I just think it's so important. It's like marketing is like putting out a good product, like Netflix, for example, dude. They can take any sport. Like me personally, I'm not a tennis guy. I don't like tennis, okay? But Netflix can put out a documentary, whatever it's called, that they just did for tennis, dude. That thing is sick, dude. They make tennis look like the most exciting sport ever. And so it's like I don't understand why USA Swimming does not have a production team that is like following people around and like making it just look sick and interesting, and they just don't. It's like I don't get it.
Okay.
One
And
day they will
last,
get it.
sorry, go ahead. So if I asked, like, what are the average pay ranges for athletes on the USA national team? And so it obviously gives me a range, but I was just curious. It says about 20 to 60,000 per year from a combination of stipends, prize money, sponsorships, clinics, etc. So we can't even find like what the top guys are making directly from USA Swimming. It's like you said, Elvis, it's all packaged in with some type of work elsewhere and not just the paycheck itself to be a pro athlete.
No, I can tell you. I
Yeah.
remember at least in 2010, I went to the University of Texas after they won national NCAA's and partied with them for a bit. And that's where I met Dax. And I was talking to Ricky Barons because he had just been put on the USA National, and I was like, "What do y'all get paid?" And he straight up told me, I think it was either like 3,000 or 3,200 a month,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, they had to be top 6 in the U.S. and like top 10 or top 20 in the world. So in an event, so both of
Yeah.
those things had to be true at the same time to qualify for that. So like somewhere between $30,000 and $42,000 they're
Yeah.
making.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing like for inflation now, plus they said the new CEO bumped them up like 15% or something. So we can estimate, between 35 and 50K. But like I said, like with prize money, another 10K. Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Yeah. So
But how many of them are winning 10K in prize money a year?
Well, when do we
Maybe.
offer any prize money, or when? How is there no world record bonus? How is it like? I
Right.
love what the Enhanced Games did after Coventry put out her stupid statement or whatever, and then they were like, "Boom, $10 million to anyone that can break Usain Bolt's record." I
it
was
was
like,
sick.
"Yes." It's like, dude, I'm sorry, but money motivates a lot of people. Like, if USA Swimming was like, "Boom, $500,000 to anyone that can break the 50 free world record," I bet a lot of people would be taking swimming a lot more seriously and trying to break that freaking world record.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we could easily talk about that. I even wrote down ISL because that's, I think, something worth diving into, but maybe that's for the next time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But it was a good podcast, man. We really appreciate your time, Elvis. You're definitely one of the top people that we wanted to talk to, just because it's always refreshing being able to talk to someone that, one, isn't afraid to say their opinion, but two, can also like look outside of the box.
Yeah, I appreciate you all, having me on, and it's an honor to be considered. And thank you all for the kind words. And like I said, we're working on something right now that's I think is really going to change the game. And I was really hoping it would have came into place so I could announce it on you guys' podcast, but it's not quite there yet. So
It's okay.
hopefully soon.
On down the road, just consider us. That's all we ask. Just
We shall. We shall.
Yeah.
All right, man. Congrats. Thanks, dude.
Yep. Keep it up, brother. All right.
All
See you
right.
guys.
Ciao, guys. Okay.